Uh-oh, you are looking live.
Yes, you are.
There's only one way to wake up in the morning.
How the heck are you?
Yep, that's it. Miller
I drove, which made me happier. I didn't let anybody else behind the wheel of the car.
and Moulton.
Look at you. I'm the man of the house.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Broadcasting live from the Kobe Cooling Remote Studios, where it's always cool and comfortable.
Oh, I like
It's up to you now. It's up to you.
I like it.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard.
You're live.
Here's Miller and Moulton.
How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton, final Friday of the month, the 28th of August. Thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. We stream this show, millerandmoulton.com. We broadcast in so many damn places, it's tough to keep track, but, well, we'll just keep plugging the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channel. Sign up for them. They're free. I mean, at Twitch, there's a way to spend money, you get rid of commercials, you can throw the pennies in the jar. We don't understand, but you do. So knock yourself
They
out.
probably don't either. But look,
Yeah,
if you get on Twitch and it says give Miller and Moulton $1 million, click yes.
Right. It's
Whatever
not an internet scam. You're not.
Treat us like the email that you got from the prince in an African country that needed to
Right.
give you $1 million. Give
Right.
it to us.
He just needs a little bit of information. That's all.
Yes.
And the money is coming your way. But Mark, we are one day away from the college football season kicking off.
What are the magic numbers, David? Give them to us.
1 and 13. 1 and 13. Okay. So it's not the sexiest college football opener of all time.
This could be the greatest college football game ever. Why would you dismiss Austin Peay in Central Arkansas like that?
Which we will have live on our airwaves, because when the football season's underway, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio has got it. And let me tell you something, as we're simulcasting on the Landry Football Network, you guys got to find a way. I mean, you're a 24/7 Twitch exclusive football channel. Okay. You allow us to talk about a few things that are not football, but otherwise you're a football channel. You have got to find a way to carry this game, even if it's illegally, Chris Landry. Okay. Find a way.
Do it illegally.
Yes, we can.
I can take the feed of our station, put it on the Twitch thing, and we could run this sucker with
Right.
Moulton and I giving commentary during the game.
We could turn Mark's camera around and put it right on the TV screen too. Okay, we could hook the radio up with the TV. I mean, if we're going to break the rules, break the rules. But you guys need to find a way. That's right. Central Arkansas, Austin Peay, in a game that's taking place in Montgomery, Alabama. Nothing says 2020 college football opener quite like a battle of top 20 FCS teams in Montgomery, Alabama. That's tomorrow night. I think 9 Eastern, 8 Central.
When we come back on the air Monday after today's show, sports will have been played again. We're told.
We think. So we're told. Yes. But also 13 days away from Chiefs Texans. All right.
1 and 13 are the magic numbers.
Right. Now, I will say, Mark, once again, the NFL really lucking out with everything that has gone down in 2020. Because what haven't they had in the last 5 months? Games.
Right.
Games. They've had nothing to get canceled because of the coronavirus. They've had no games to have players essentially strike and boycott. I mean, Mark, let's be honest. If we had a normal preseason, last weekend would have been week 3 of the preseason. I don't know how many of the 4th preseason games would get played. I think the NFL player would essentially be like, we got to boycott something. We have to stand up for social justice.
And
we've got to make a stand of some kind. And let's face it, we're not giving up game checks.
Well, and not only that, the owners aren't giving up. I mean, in a normal year, because you tried to play this out, like if it were normal preseason, there would be fans. And the owners would gladly sacrifice a fourth preseason gate.
Sure.
And that was the one thing a few of my friends on social media posted yesterday. Not for the protest, not anti-protest. Just simple. I have a lot of friends across the country who have worked in professional sports. Having worked for teams for the majority of my adult life and worked in the sports and or sports talk radio business my entire life, you and I know a lot of folks that work for teams.
Yeah, we know the little people, Mark.
Right. And I know
I like to call them my peeps.
Yeah. I don't know if the ticket department's really ever been your peep. In fact, I could argue the ticket department's never been your peeps because you and I are the type of guy that go to the ticket department late and say, hey, I got to get 4 from you.
You know that's not me.
Well, that's me.
It is you. You know I'm the guy that pays. I'm the guy you've yelled at for 15 years going, you know you can get these for free.
I don't mean for you, though. I mean when you go to the ticket department when you're working, you're not going for tickets for yourself because you're already there.
Right.
I'm already working. Hey, I need to get 4 good ones. I got a late call from so-and-so. He's the head pro over at West Bay, and I've got to take care of him because let's be honest, if we can't get tee times at West Bay, what's life worth living for?
Right. I mean, you got to give me these because no.
The ticket guy goes, we play West Bay all the time. If it's a pro at Calusa, I could do something for you. That's the one thing that was asked yesterday of a lot of friends of mine through the years who worked in front offices that just simply asked the question out loud. How sympathetic would the owners be to the boycott if there were actually fans in the stands? I'm not talking about the players here. I do not want anyone to think the sentence that I just uttered is about the players because it's not. But the owners in all of these sports have largely said, yep, okay, have your protest, have your boycott, do it for 1 day, do it for 2 days, whatever you guys need to do. We're supporting, or at least behind closed doors, but there's no gate.
Could you be supportive yet aggravated? Because in theory, these games are going to get played. It's not as if game 3 of a hockey series is not going to get played. It's just being pushed 48 hours down the road. So in theory, you're going to get that gate. It's just it would have created, from a ticket standpoint, a royal pain in the butt.
It would have. And it could have worked out really well for these teams because they would have gotten the parking, a concession or two, and then they would have sent everybody home.
In some cases, right. I mean, the Mets Marlins yesterday, when those teams did what they did, I mean, there'd be 23,000, maybe a little bit more tickets that were already ripped in half.
For those of you that do not know, Mets Marlins yesterday proving why reality TV shows will never be close to reality based on what happened in the clubhouse. Because that was reality television. That was not scripted reality television. That was a mic left on. That was a camera left on. That was gorgeous.
Well, that's just one part of the reality TV. And the other reality TV was then what took place on the field. Because let's face it, the Mets and the Marlins pulled one over on everybody. All the other teams canceled their games in advance. All right. None of them showed up at the ballpark. So you knew at least 2 hours out, if not more, hey, this game's not taking place. Teams essentially voted back in their hotel rooms. Maybe some home teams went to the ballpark and voted, but road teams, like if you noticed, I think it was Phillies at Nats. Phillies canceled. Well, they decided that in their hotel. It was Twins Tigers. Twins decided that. I think the game was in Detroit. They were in their hotel. But Mets Marlins, Mark, a little behind the curtain here. We only have one guest on the show today. And it is the head football coach at Austin Peay.
Well, if we're going to break down Central Arkansas and Austin Peay, we gave you Central Arkansas's coach yesterday. We have to be an equal opportunity show.
Yes, agreed. And besides, it's the only college football game going on.
And we have got it covered 6 ways but sideways.
And we're carrying it here on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, hopefully illegally being carried on the Landry Football Network. But so this interview was booked 2 days ago, though. When we booked the Central Arkansas guy, we booked the Austin Peay guy. Okay, so John still books our show. And John has been enthusiastic lately about booking the show. The Mets and the Marlins broke his spirit yesterday because he's also program director. And there's this thing when you carry a game, you got to set the computer up and this, that, and the other thing. And it's totally different than if you're just running normal programming.
Yeah, that's the key there. Just right there. Just in a nutshell, when we're running a normal day of Fox Sports Radio, Miller and Moulton, Dan Patrick, Colin Cowherd, Gottlieb, et cetera, it's rinse, wash, repeat.
Right. As soon as we're done.
On a Friday or Saturday, I guess on Sunday over the weekend, he sets the logs, which where the commercials and the shows play. He does the entire week. So if we're just running the normal according to Hoyle Fox Sports Radio schedule, John programs that sucker in on Friday, gets it done by 8, 9 o'clock at night. I know Friday's always his long day. It's in, it's done. He's set for the next week.
Right.
When you decide to add a baseball game, you have to go back in and change it. It's what they like to call a change order.
Normally, when we're done at 8:50, 7:50, all right, they just flip that thing to Fox National. They're done. They don't have to worry about anything till 6:01:30 the next morning. But if we're going to run a Marlins game, that's a different computer. It's a different hookup to a different satellite, this, that, and the other thing. So John calls me at 5 o'clock. He texts me, actually, and he's like, "Are your Mets playing?" And I go, "Well, John, it's 2 hours before. If this game was going to be canceled, it would have been canceled by now. The Marlins would not."
No.
And I said, "John, I go, hold on." I go, "John, just let me check." So I check all my New York sites. Game's still going on. I check Twitter. I go, "John, the Marlins have left their hotel." I said, "So they're at the ballpark." I go, "The likelihood is if this game was canceled, they would have canceled it at their hotel room. And this is the last day they're in New York. So, and they'd be going to the airport and getting a jump on leaving town." Okay. So John, I don't know what to tell you. The Marlins are already at the park. I go, "So the likelihood is this game's going on because everybody else has canceled it before the visiting team gets to the park." You know, the Red Sox decided they were not playing at their hotel. They didn't go to the park. They didn't have to. So I said, "John, you know, common sense tells you they're playing." And he's like, "Okay." So Mark, before he leaves the office, you know, it sets it all up, this, that, and the other thing. And he goes home. Now, usually John will go home, eat dinner, this, that, and the other thing. And John starts making calls on behalf of the show, 7:30, 8 o'clock. Well, what happens at 7:10? The Mets and Marlins have a 42-second, you know, pause for reflection in honor of Jackie Robinson, number 42. All right. And then they decide that they're not going to play. So now John has to scramble. And he's home. And so John, Mark, is cursing me out on Twitter as if this is my fault. I should have known. I should have known the Mets and the Marlins were going to do this. Like, apparently this is on me. And so once that happened, once John scrambled and this, that, and the other thing and got the station back so that he could, you know, go back to regularly scheduled programming already in progress, John at that point, I know, just said, "That's enough work for me. I'm done. It's a Friday. They can get it on their own. I'm not worried about anything till next week." So, you know, we had sent a request, you know, give us a guy from Philly, give us a guy from Boston, because we could talk both baseball, basketball, hockey, you know, with anybody like here, you know, get us this guy, get us that guy, bada bing, bada boom. Yeah, nothing. Zip, zilch, nothing. John said, "Hell with you." Okay, I'm blaming Moulton. I'm blaming the Mets. I'm blaming the Marlins. Triple M's. I'm done with all of you.
Well, I guess I feel good about what I did last night then, because as you all well know, if you listen to our show regularly, very rarely do David and I talk after we're done with one another, anywhere between 9:10 and 9:30. We have a post-show political segment that runs anywhere from 5 to 45 minutes, depending on the day.
Right.
Unless David has an appointment or I have gymnastics. Right. Tuesdays are bad for me. The occasional CBS Zoom and or doctor appointment for David can run him out. But normally there is a quick 5-minute say goodbye to the Twitch folks, get their last comments about the show, answer them. We end our broadcast, and then David and I begin our political show that is only for the two of us.
Now, just to clarify, when Mark says I have gymnastics, it's to take his daughter to gymnastics. Don't anybody think that all of a sudden Mark is leaving the show and is working on his flexibility.
I'm
He's
doing
not.
that rhythmic gymnastics with the papers that you follow around. Like,
Oh, I thought that was your golf swing. But
So yesterday, I had sent John a text at about 10 of 8 because a guy that I think is really funny on Twitter put out a new video. It was hysterical. I sent it to John, and John's like, already had seen it, loved it. And if you're on Twitch, you see our little screen, and I found some toys yesterday, and I've been working on designing our television or our internet screen, I guess, if you will, our backdrop.
Right.
And I don't know how to do this, so I'm having to learn. And so while calling David would be fun to see what it looks like, it offers me not a lot of help.
None, actually.
And, well, no, it offers some because your opinion definitely matters, and you know what sets are supposed to look like, so that's not true at all. But John has a little better technical grasp of it and understands the term, so I'm like, hey, you got a minute? I want to show you this. And so John and I spent an hour last night talking, in which he let me know, and face-to-face like this, he was in your spot, where it says at the David Moulton, John was there. And so he likes new toys. He's done radio a long time. I've done radio a long time. When we're into this, it's new. So it's a little more exciting. So last night we were working on this, and he did tell me about how angry he was about the Mets Marlins. So because at the end of about 9 o'clock, he finally looked at me and he goes, so what the blank you want on the show tomorrow?
Oh, I don't know. NHL stopped playing. NBA still not playing. Half of Major League Baseball shut down.
Yeah,
college football, NFL. I don't know, John.
Go to right now. There is not a city you cannot go to.
Right.
There is not a story right now in any corner of the United States of America.
Right. I mean, come on.
We got the Oscar P code, so basically he was done with us.
Right. Totally.
You know what he did that? He did that just to appease me.
Yeah.
And it's your fault.
It is. Apparently, it's my fault that the Mets and the Marlins did what they did. And it's not that what they did was wrong. It's that what they did was screwed up John Cassio's beautiful programming of Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
It made him work more.
Right.
That's all it did. It made him work more. He's a lazy human by nature. And when he's got it wired for sound, he's happy. And when he has to do extra work for not, he would have been fine doing the extra work if the game would have run.
We're usually pretty good. In fact, we've got a few strengths, a lot of weaknesses, but a few strengths. One of our strengths is we're really good at going 24, 48 hours ahead. We're oftentimes in our show going, just to let you know, this is what's going to happen today, and we'll be talking about it tomorrow. But just to let you know, this is what's happening. We did not see the NHL coming. We thought that the NHL just got caught in a bad spot on Wednesday. They had a 3:00 game. The Milwaukee-Orlando NBA playoff game was at 4:00. The Islanders-Flyers had already dropped the puck. Flyers were up 3-0 by 3:30. And what could the NHL do after the Milwaukee Bucks did what they did? The NHL was like, I don't want to play one game and cancel the other two. And none of the other four teams that were in action, Boston and Tampa at 8, or Vancouver and Vegas at 10:45 Eastern, Colorado, Dallas at 10:45 Eastern, none of those four teams said we're not playing. Because obviously if they had, the game wouldn't have taken place. I mean, that's what happened in the NBA. Milwaukee said we're not playing. Orlando was ready to play. They were doing their shoot around.
They were ready to go.
And once Milwaukee said we're not playing, Orlando said, oh, well, then I guess we're not playing. And then once that happened, the other four teams that were scheduled, they're like, well, we're not playing. So we just thought hockey got caught in a bad spot. But, Mark, we did not see, because yesterday at this time, Kelly Rudy, who longtime goaltender for a few teams, and he is part of TSN, which is Canada's version of ESPN, essentially. And they're one of the big two in the country at broadcasting hockey, probably the big one. And Kelly Rudy just flat out said before the two night games on Wednesday, we should not be playing. I don't know why we're playing. And he went further. He said, hockey's always last to the party on this. And then they wonder why we don't have any minority involvement in the sport, blah, blah, blah. And now he was not the overwhelming sentiment. And Kelly Rudy, white, Western Canadian, okay? We should not be playing. Meanwhile, Anson Carter, black, Toronto native, now lives in the States, calls Atlanta home. He's on NBC before the Lightning and the Bruins on Wednesday night, and Catherine Tappan asks him, and Anson says, I think we should be playing. Now, there are things that I think the league should do, okay? And he talked about how, where I live now in Atlanta, the Hawks, who own Phillips Arena, it's still Phillips, right?
Yes. At least,
they're opening up that arena on election day as a polling place. And he said, I think there are things that the NHL could do, but he goes, no, I have no problem with us playing hockey tonight. So differing views and interesting.
Well,
that, where they came from.
I thought the NHL didn't play for fear of backlash of playing. I don't think the NHL took any stand yesterday. I don't. I think the NHL looked around and said, holy crap, we look bad. I thought it was a reactionary 2 days off. David, I'm sorry. They're playing in Toronto and Edmonton.
Right.
And I know some of their players are American-born, but largely the sport is not an American-born sport. The problems of the United States of America are not the problems of the National Hockey League. Largely, those players are mostly Canadian. One, where they've tackled the coronavirus and don't have race problems, nearly to the way they're baffled by our race problems. I've spent a lot of years with Canadians. Road buses, thousands upon thousands of miles. They've always not understood our race problems. It's very foreign to them. So I don't understand why the NHL didn't play. The only thought I had two friends I was texting with because we're trying to add a spot to our fantasy football league. There are many of my friends who are not doing fantasy this year, not because they don't think the season is going to be played, but because they're apparently anti any form of social justice reform. And if, God forbid, a player takes a knee, it's the worst damn thing to ever happen to America. And I can't be involved in fantasy football because
Wait, really?
Could show you the text.
Wow.
3 different people.
Wow.
It'll be a blank show. I'm not watching. I'm already done with that league. They're going to be just like the NBA, which to me, they're screaming out one thing really loudly. We can all assume what that is. I'll let you make your own characterizations. But I don't think that the NHL needed to take the day off. I think the NHL did it to react to the other leagues.
Well, 2 things apparently happened. One, the NHL has a diversity council. And they apparently were not happy that the league played Wednesday. And by late yesterday morning, they were public in their, what are we doing? All right, that's number 1. Number 2, apparently what happened, the Vancouver Canucks decided they weren't playing. There were supposed to be, I think, 2 games yesterday.
Yes.
Flyers,
Vancouver, Vegas, and the Flyers.
Right. Flyers, Islanders were going to play a back-to-back. And we could get into how interesting this is, days off, the way series are. And at certain teams, I think the Bruins caught a big break here, but we digress. But Vancouver was supposed to be the night game against Vegas. And the word was out by lunchtime, East Coast time, which is late breakfast where they are because they're playing in Edmonton. And the word was out that Vancouver had already said, we're not playing. Oh, okay. So one of the 4, so the night game's not happening. All right. The public, a little bit of a groundswell from within. And I agree with you, Mark, that that's how it looks. But apparently, and, pardon the pun, the NHL was acting within their own bubble. It came from within, and then Vancouver was going to pull a Milwaukee. Vancouver said, we're not playing. Oh, okay. Well, now that changes everything. And so then the word was essentially out by 2:00. The league and the players had to figure out, because then what you only had 2 games scheduled for yesterday. Well, then you had 2 games scheduled for today. Those are the 8 remaining teams in the playoffs. Well, the 4 teams that were supposed to play today are like, well, we can't have them sit out and then us play. It makes it look like we don't give a damn.
Right.
So if they sit out, we got to sit out.
To sit out.
Right. So that's why
baseball's a whole nother story. You know, the Cardinals had to get their games in. I mean, let's face facts. If the Cardinals miss 2 more, I think it's impossible for them to finish the season.
Well, the commissioner of baseball.
So social justice be damned.
Well, the commissioner of baseball said it's up to the individual teams. I mean, you know what the commissioner of baseball did?
He has got the backbone of a worm.
The commissioner of baseball pulled a Mark Emmert yesterday. He basically said, I really don't have a lot to. I mean, I could have something to say here, but I'm not going to. It's up to you guys.
Only the commissioner. Why should I make a tough decision?
Right.
You know, Adam Silver's been making it, but Adam Silver the players made it. None of these commissioners made this decision.
No.
Bettman, Silver, Manford, none of them made the decision.
Right.
The teams did. The players did. And even the MLS yesterday, David, when the MLS released a statement and basically backed themselves, one of the players retweeted it and said, let me make something perfectly clear here. The players are the ones that decided not to play, not the MLS. This had nothing to do with the MLS. They wanted to play. I mean, he threw the league under the bus something fierce by saying, this wasn't your decision. You didn't have anything to do with this.
On the same day that apparently a story came out saying that one of the owners of one of the MLS teams is apparently as racist as you could be. So it was just a hell of, and never mind, you got the whole Daniel Snyder story going on with that Washington football team. I mean, these are hell of, whether you have games or not. I mean, sports talk's never been easier. You can ask Mark. I was really worried 5 months ago how we were going to continue to do a show. And there were quite a few shows nationally. I mean, the afternoon drive show in San Francisco took 3 months off. Just stopped doing a show. Mike Bianchi stopped doing a show in Orlando. Meanwhile, Miller and Moulton have been like, we've never had more stuff to talk about.
The only thing that slowed us down was cancer.
And that was just for 2 weeks.
Right. And I took a vacation in August that was planned long before the pandemic. In fact, as David and I and John are going back and forth with all of the cancellations yesterday, David sent me a text. It became between David and I, and he's like, hockey might not go tonight. And then I just said, hey, they can't play tomorrow. Everyone's got to sit out a game. And a couple more texts. And I finally just went back to David and I said, well, great. 2 free shows in August. And David's response was, I know.
Yep.
So the sports talk show guy in us just says, how the heck are you?
It's a football Friday, the day before the college football season gets underway with Austin Peay and Central Arkansas, a game you will hear live and exclusively tomorrow night on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. The starting 5 is next. Thanks for waking up with us last Friday in August. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Receiving over.
You're clear.
It is really a better shirt, and I think it's Mark Sharpen. Is it Mark? Right? Am I right? I think it's a better shirt than a sign. Miller and Moulton. We got a lot of strengths. We got a lot of weaknesses, but we got a lot of strength.
For the record, I said we have some strengths, a lot of weaknesses, but some
We've
strengths.
got some strengths.
Some strengths.
Finally, something worthwhile.
I didn't think it was going to be this easy.
We got a couple of things
All right.
going on.
So, David, I've asked you now 5 times minimum. You wrote it down earlier in the week. Have you watched the Club Pro guy Darren Ravel takedown?
I did not.
I know.
I did not.
I've pretty much sworn you off as a person. You're my co-host, but nothing else. I'm pretty much done with it. It's 3 of the funniest goddamn minutes that have ever been put on Twitter. I begged you to watch it because you think Ravel's slightly phony anyhow, which I'm telling you right now, as someone who has covered golf at the highest level, it is worth every. I'm trying so hard to oversell this, and I don't think I can. But I have decided that I think I'm going to start running some Club Pro guy stuff during our 3-minute breaks, especially when we go to the football hour. Something's going up during those minutes, so we got time to regroup.
Okay. Oh, we got the Japanese prime minister that's going to resign for health reasons. All right. And apparently the North Korean leader's been in a coma for months.
Dan Martineau here, owner of DR Martineau Roofing of Southwest Florida. We're still finding a lot of roofs with hurricane and windstorm damage. Call us today for a free inspection. Google DRM Roofing or call 239-232-1441.
License number CCC 1326954.
Going to the press room today for
I do love the voice. The voice is like a terrorist request, a hostage request with like a helicopter, $2 million.
Kobe with your Kobe cooling tip of the day. There's lots of new air conditioning commercials about ductwork and attics that are all about hot air. These commercials are sales scams and they're designed to scare people about mold and sell you new ductwork.
Here's the question.
They're only experts in sales. Real experts are NAEP certified mechanics, and they're experts in the entire air conditioning system. Don't fall for the sales scams.
Okay, guys, I'm not going to go into the press room today for obvious reasons. Let me just start by saying that I've been playing this.
You'll get that next break because that's 3 minutes and 28 seconds of pure gold. Gold. So my buddy last night, I text him about whether or not he's going to be in our big league for fantasy. And he says yes. And he goes, and I'll sponsor too. So I may have a sponsor for the Twitch fantasy football broadcast. He's texting. He's not even paying attention.
I am listening.
Oh, well,
next break, you're going to play it. I got it.
Of the news press and Naples News for 17 consecutive years, and
I can't wait.
Lee County's manufacturer of the year. Want to see more? Go to my show.
Thank you, Mark, for catching that. I appreciate that. That's fantastic. That's all I needed. I wanted to make sure someone else noticed that what I said, he didn't caught half of it, but that's all right. It's okay.
We're a family company. Over 40 years, we've been doing business right.
The prescription is the Pool Doctor for award-winning pool service, repairs, and unheard of $39 diagnostic calls. That's mypooldoctor.com or 239-574-1133. State certified CPC 057088.
No matter where you're boating, with Towboat US, you're covered by the world's largest towing fleet. With over
Tell you what, I got a lot of stuff written down here. The both sides are completely full.
That's great.
65 days a year, inland, the river to Lago, and out 75 nautical.
Can't wait to hear it.
I know you can't. I just can't wait to get through it so I could hear Club Pro guy.
You know what? We need a weekend. I am ready for this. Has been the longest week of the year.
Really?
Now back to Miller and Moulton.
Oh, well, the alarms.
This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Top of the morning to you, 26 minutes before the hour. Thanks for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Streaming once again, millerandmoulton.com and broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and twitch.tv channels. Our poll question coming up in about 20 minutes' time. Right now, time for
The starting five. 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton starting five. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
Mark. Who's the starting five brought to us by?
Today's starting five brought to you by the Lizard Lounge.
All right, here's how it went down yesterday. The NBA had a players' meeting late in the morning, right as the Board of Governors were having a meeting. Apparently, Michael Jordan took control of the NBA for a few hours yesterday. He's the one who did the speaking at the Board of Governors meeting, and he said to the owners, here's my advice to you all. Shut up and listen. Then Michael Jordan reached out to Chris Paul and the Players Association and said, I think you guys should play, but what is it that you want? Chris Paul said, this is what we want. And Jordan said, I think stuff like that can get done, but I think you should play, and here's why. And so then went back, and eventually by early afternoon, the players had decided, okay, all right, especially the LA teams who the night before when they went to bed, they were leaving. They were done. They were voting to be gone, and the NBA season was going to be over.
It's a total hypothetical. But without a Michael Jordan speaking on behalf of the owners, are they playing basketball the rest of this year?
I don't think so, because
I don't either.
Because I think there's only one person that LeBron would listen to. If LeBron had his mind made up, okay, I think there's only one person involved in basketball who could get LeBron to change his mind, and it would be Michael Jordan. Still unknown, by the way, unless you know, Mark. I spent 20 minutes before the show. We don't know if we're having the NBA tonight. The feeling is we're not.
Yeah, I thought that we were getting it tomorrow. I've just kind of had in my head the way they were talking, and I know technically Friday night is the weekend, but the way they have kind of thrown this out there, haven't you just had it in your head that it's Saturday?
I mean, the games are still on the schedule and have not officially been canceled or postponed. But the feeling that was coming out of yesterday was play is going to resume Saturday. But there are games still on the schedule for today. The NHL, meanwhile, early afternoon decided, they're not playing either. So they didn't play 2 games yesterday. They're not playing 2 games today. The Vancouver Canucks, a bit of a driving force. They were the first team to vote, and the word got out that Vancouver said, we're not playing. So
Vancouver's got a lot of Seattle in it.
Yeah. So you're going to have no hockey tonight as well, and then the NHL playoffs will resume. Could resume at noon on Saturday. It could be a whole bunch of games. The Major League Baseball commissioner, meanwhile, left it up to the teams to decide if they wanted to play. I believe the first series to get canceled, Mark, was the A's-Rangers series. The Texas Rangers said, we're not playing. Okay. Then word was getting out Boston didn't want to play. Word then got out Phillies were not playing. In fact, at first, it was the Phillies didn't even consult with the Nationals. That found not to be true. Boston, Toronto didn't take place. Colorado, Arizona didn't take place. The Orioles, Rays, Baltimore said, we're not playing. Okay. The Twins said, we're not playing the Tigers. Okay, fine. Then the Marlins and the Mets. Marlins go to the ballpark. Mets go to the ballpark. Now, I will say, Mark, remember, there's not supposed to be, the whole social distancing and the coronavirus. Well, obviously, the two teams, were able to communicate with one another. And here's what they did. They both got dressed. The Mets took the field for the top of the first inning. The anthem was played. Then there was a 42-second moment of silence in honor of Jackie Robinson, at which point the scheduled leadoff hitter for the Marlins walked to the plate and put a Black Lives Matter t-shirt over home plate, stood outside the box. After the 42 seconds of silence, the Mets and Marlins tipped their caps at one another, and they both walked off the field. And that was it. And the Mets-Marlins game didn't happen as well. As for when some of these games will be made up in a doubleheader today, but some of them they're going to be scrambling. And it is worth pointing out, both the Mets and Marlins have games to make up because they've missed because of the coronavirus. So, meanwhile, however, the Cardinals played, and they would have wished, Mark, they didn't because they got swept by the Pirates.
The Pirates?
Right.
They are the worst team in baseball, and it ain't close. I mean, the Red Sox are a distant second to last.
Well, not yesterday. Pirates beat the Cards 4-3 and 2-0. Cincinnati swept a twin bill from Milwaukee 6-1 and 6-0. The Dodgers swept a doubleheader from the Giants 7-0 and 2-0. Meanwhile, a dramatic split in San Diego. Seattle was winning the first game. Remember, it's a doubleheader, so we're playing 7 innings. Seattle's up 7-3 with 2 out and nobody on in the 7th. The Padres proceed to score 7 runs and win 10-7 on a walk-off homer. Then Seattle wins the nightcap 8-3. All games, by the way, are currently scheduled in Major League Baseball today. All games. BMW Championship, which is round 2 of the FedEx.
They didn't postpone or cancel that.
No, they did, however, Mark, release a very moving statement before round 1. And by moving,
the paper moved when he read it.
Right, standard boilerplate It took a minute and a half to put it together. They're very concerned about everything that's going on in the world. Hideki Matsuyama with a one-shot lead at just 3 under par, though.
Hey, can we just pause for a second? Even par is tied for 4th at a PGA event after 1 round. This is remarkable.
Only 3 golfers under par.
Yes.
Matsuyama at 3 under, Tyler Duncan at 2 under, and Mackenzie Hughes is at 1 under. Those are the 3 golfers under par. For the record, Rory and Tony Finau even. DJ and Victor Hovland 1 over. JT, Tiger, and Bryson DeChambeau 3 over par. John Rahm 5 over. Colin Morikawa 6 over.
He's done. His year is over. Colin Morikawa needs a break. Missed the cut. He now has more missed cuts than he has majors. His career is starting to spiral downward. The guy needs a break. He needs a little downtime. He and his girlfriend need to just get away.
NFL news, a bunch of teams canceled practice yesterday. The Packers, the Jets, the Bears, the Colts, the Titans, the Broncos, the Cardinals, the Chargers, and the team that locates itself in our nation's capital. All did not practice yesterday. Giants practiced, but had 2 of their captains say, we could sit out a regular season game. Now, I have all the money in my bank account saying they won't do it, but that was interesting that they actually said that out loud, didn't keep it to themselves. Eagles young left tackle Andre Dillard, he tore his biceps. He's out for the year. Good thing they re-signed Jason Peters to play guard. They're going to move him back to left tackle. Dolphins made a minor trade yesterday. Kalen Ballage, their 4th-round pick from 2018, a running back. They sent him to the Jets for a conditional late-round pick. The Bills cut their kicker yesterday, Mark. Steven Hauschka. He'd been their kicker the last 3 years. He's not very good, 50-plus. And when I say not very good, he's the worst kicker in the league, 50-plus. And so this kicker they drafted in the 6th round, Tyler Bass out of Georgia Southern, the Bills are going to go with him.
Georgia Southern was, even Pat, I'm listening to Pat during combines. This kid was, or the Senior Bowl, Pat was going nuts. The kid from Georgia Southern is like, we'll see. Because there have been plenty of these guys out there who are excellent in practice, 10 for 10, and all of a sudden game situations are not good. But this guy was, because I think it was Blankenship, the kid from Georgia, everybody was kind of high on. The kid from Georgia Southern that was supposedly the best kicker in this draft. So there's a good kicker on the market. And by the way, there are teams already talking about keeping 2 kickers, as you've pointed out, David.
Right. College football news. South Florida announced another 2-for-1 yesterday. This one with Notre Dame that starts immediately. They will play in South Bend this year. South Florida has now scheduled 2-for-1s with Notre Dame, Alabama, Texas, the Gators, and the Hurricanes.
As I tweeted yesterday, David, look it. USF is continuing to win the scheduling battle.
Right.
UCF is better. Much better. They have their own facility. They are light years right now ahead of USF. Will this scheduling game help USF get their act together? Because if they do with the scheduling, can they catch UCF? Right now, they're way behind. I get it. But from a standpoint of exciting your fan base, you're putting games in your stadium that are far better than your rival is.
Speaking of fans at games, Clemson announced yesterday they will have 19,000 fans, 20% capacity for their games this year. Georgia suffered a loss yesterday. Their best returning wide receiver, Dominic Blaylock, injured his knee yet again. He will miss the season. Sad news in college basketball. Lute Olson passed away yesterday at the age of 85. Mark, the pride of Mayville, North Dakota.
There's no doubt there. You will never hear me argue about who the pride of Mayville, North Dakota is.
Thank you.
You bring up the Verot thing, I can give you an argument here or there. But Lute Olson, Mayville, North Dakota, I'm with you.
In the College Basketball Hall of Fame, in the Naismith Hall of Fame, won the 1997 National Championship at Arizona with all the freshmen. Just a few years after Michigan had the Fab Five, Lute had the group, I think it was a bunch of freshmen and one sophomore, Bibby and company. And they had a magical run through the tournament, beat Kentucky in Rick Pitino's final game in overtime for the national championship. Lute Olson was 85. A reminder, college football starts tomorrow night, Austin Peay and Central Arkansas. And at 15 minutes before the hour, that mark is
The starting five. Five big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton starting five. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
I stand corrected about Dominic Blaylock. All right. He's one of their most experienced wide receivers, not their best. George Pickens, their best returning receiver. But Blaylock, who hurt his knee in the SEC title game against LSU last year, re-injured it at practice yesterday, out for the year.
Miller,
So there you have it.
When we come back, we'll give you the results of yesterday's poll question, and we'll see if David and I, in the next 3.5, 4 minutes, can come up with a poll question for the weekend. Should be exciting banter. It's why you want to watch Twitch. Not to mention, I spent hours creating new graphics for the show. And damn it, they look okay.
They're pretty.
They're
They're pretty.
I'm somewhat happy with it. Miller and Moulton, Fox Sports Radio, streaming at millerandmoulton.com, and you are looking at those spiffy graphics on twitch.tv.
Patrick Show. People weren't talking about Dallas pulling off the upset. Doc Rivers has got
Hey, man, from the starting five to August 28th, that was Purdy. That was Purdy.
That was Purdy. No. St. Louis played a doubleheader. They didn't get further behind. They wish they had taken the day off, but they went 0 for 2. No. Do we want to play Club Pro Guy and just think amongst ourselves?
No, we'll do that top of the hour.
Okay.
I need to do a poll question here. We have a show to do. I don't know.
Wow. Look
what
at
the hell
you.
is going on around here?
Look at you.
I have Monday's poll question done.
Okay.
Monday's the first day of school. And I want the poll question to be, how long before Mark Miller becomes first grade teacher Mr. Miller again?
Ooh.
I think it's a great, fun question. There's more to talk about, but come on. So that's one. But as far as this, David, I'm telling you right now, yesterday's poll question does not bode well for sports down here. Unless they're all lying. Half the people don't like the David, the text I was getting from people that I know yesterday that are I know the way a lot of these people think, but I was shocked to see how done they are. I'm like, oh, okay. Because I don't, you and I, David, I don't let my politics affect my music, my movies, or my sports.
Right.
Because if I did, I wouldn't be able, I'd be watching OAN, for crying out loud.
Oh. Oh, hey. Oh, no.
And, but you get my point. I mean, come on.
Right. Boy, a poll question that'll last the weekend here. How about this? Will you watch the Austin P Central Arkansas game?
Yes. College football begins Saturday night with Austin P versus Central
Arkansas. Will you watch? Yes. Hell yes. Okay.
Well, I was going to go with yes. Yes, I'm betting on it. No.
Yes. Outstanding. Yes.
Because we already got a text saying lay UCA and
3.5. Absolutely.
UCA and lay the 3.5. As someone sent a text with that on there.
Fox Sports FM on TuneIn.
I agree. That's our question. Yes. Yes, and I'm betting on it. Okay, no.
P-E-A-Y, right?
What?
P-E-A-Y, right? Austin P, P-E-A-Y?
Correct.
Dr. Spalding and Dr. Spatafor really do care about helping people, and we're so glad they helped us.
They're excited.
Yesterday, I don't know if you caught it, but Mike,
do me a favor. Next to Central Arkansas, put in parenthesis -3.5.
I was going to put it. I'm betting on it.
Okay,
I was going to put it in the answer. I'm right there with you. Oh shit! I lost my.
We run around in our trucks and cars and play golf and go fishing and go to work and do the things we like to do. We are spreading the virus. The virus can only move with us. Over 65, diabetes, COPD. All these folks will be hurt severely by this virus. Wash your hands. Be careful. Don't be a spreader.
30 seconds.
Dan Martineau here, owner of DR Martineau Roofing of Southwest Florida. I've been repairing and replacing roofs for 27 years. We operate with integrity, knowledge, and service. Google DRM Roofing or call 239-332.
Who's streaming on Twitch? Is that us or is that another show? I do like the handle, Cheater on Twitch. I like it.
Now back to Miller and Moulton.
Yeah, he just
Now getting somewhere. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Nine minutes before the top of the hour. Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? We are Miller and Moulton. This is Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming once again at millerandmoulton.com, which is where you can go. If you miss any part of the show, you can download our podcast at millerandmoulton.com. It's also where you can go for our daily poll question. Either find it on our website, millerandmoulton.com, or usually between the two of us at that Mark Miller or at the David Moulton, we tweet it out and retweet it throughout the course of the day. Yesterday, we knew we'd get a lot of feedback and a lot of votes. And our poll question was simply, do you support the boycotts from Wednesday by the NBA, WNBA, MLB, and MLS? The yes-no vote was 51% no, 49% yes. We broke up the yes vote into yes, I support the boycotts 100%. A third of you said that. Yes, but only for about 48 hours. 16% of you said that. Obviously, add that up, that's 49%. But the majority of you, 51%. And Mark, that is very much a Florida vote, isn't it? A 51-40. I mean, that's a good. When we get 51, we had one 50-50 poll question here in our second act, but when we get a 51-49 or 52-48 poll question, I feel like, you know what? That's a darn good question. That fits the make a dadgum good point. So, Arch wonders on Twitch, should we get a recount? No, I think we're good. Margin of error, I'm happy with it. Okay. So 51% of you say you don't boycott, which then is interesting. Okay. Or you're not support of the boycott, but will you hold it against these leagues and now you will not support them, watch, etc.?
That's what I'm fascinated about. David, I'm having trouble filling a fantasy league because literally I've had 4 people because we want certain, like I'm done with that league.
Well, and that's just from kneeling for the anthem, which, by the way, hasn't happened yet.
Thank you.
Now it's going to.
In the first week, they're going to play the Black National Anthem before every game. They've already announced that, much the same way Major League Baseball had Black Lives Matters on the pitching mound for opening weekend. Then it went away. Right.
And if that's enough to cause somebody not to watch anymore, right? Free country.
Absolutely. I can't let my politics in any way, shape, or form affect my sport viewing, my movie watching, or my music listening, because I wouldn't be able to watch anything.
Well, I'm with you. I'm able to separate it as well, but I understand, that there's a lot of people that can't these days because we're, I think, more politicized and polarized than we've been in a long time. So,
but our poll question today has nothing to do with protests.
No!
This is a poll question.
This is as American as America gets right
this
here.
Is a football Friday. It's a football
Friday.
College football begins on Saturday with Austin Peay versus Central Arkansas.
Yeah!
Of course, I pointed out you can listen to the game right here on Fox Sports Radio.
Nice.
Are you watching or listening? Yes. Yes, bet on it. UCA -3.5 for those wondering.
There you go.
And no. So the poll question is up. It will be up for the weekend. Even if you watched after the fact, you can still vote. Please chime in if you won or lost your bet from midnight Sunday on.
Right. And you can do so either in our chat room or in the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line, 479-5551, 239-479-5551. Mark, the vote for me is B, yes, and I'm betting on it.
I may have the bet in before the top of the hour. I mean, it is literally right here waiting to send to my guy. Got to make up for the Tigers winning all these damn games. They went on that 9-game losing streak. I said, here we go. But then they take a couple from the Cubs, and I thought losing 3 to the Cubs, I had this sucker locked. I thought we were doing pretty well.
I know.
Still a shot with games not being played. Those betting the unders, hoping for as few makeup games as possible.
You know, we should have taken that into consideration when we were thinking about baseball over-unders. And it might be something that, do you take that into consideration with college and or pro football also? When in doubt, go under, because games may just not get played. I mean, just throwing it out there. I mean, don't have to have the season affected. 1 week could be the difference. You get that betting line with a hook. One more game could send you over, but it ends up being under. I mean, just saying. When in doubt, go under. I don't know if that's the worst advice.
And unders are so boring, though. You're rooting for losses. You're rooting for no points.
Right.
Unders are boring.
Correct.
Not saying they're not good plays. They're boring. Most people like to bet overs just for that reason.
Right. It's the difference between glass half empty and glass half full. Right. Is it partly cloudy or partly sunny? Who doesn't prefer partly sunny? It's the exact same sky.
But is it?
Well, I'll tell you what. You can tell the mental makeup of your local meteorologist by whether they refer to it as partly sunny or partly cloudy.
But
that's all I'm saying.
Cloudy actually better than partly sunny. Partly cloudy means that it's mostly sunny.
Well, could look at it that way.
Miller and Moulton. Pretty much partly cloudy. Never, ever once been mostly sunny.
Oh, no. In fact, we've been accused of being downright overcast.
On Fox Sports Radio.
You're clear.
The real degenerate comes out, Mark, when you're betting Central Arkansas, Austin P.
Right.
But here, without any further ado, let's do what is necessary during this break. I think this is an absolute all-timer. Let's turn this down. I got 3.5 minutes.
Skating competitively for almost 3 decades, and this is only the 3rd time that this has happened to me. But as players, I think it's incumbent on us to recognize this is part of the game. And when it happens, you just deal with it. Questions? Well, today's Miguel's birthday. So his wife, Marguerite, prepared a Mexican feast out by the driving range. And I had 3 helpings of chili con carne before my warm-up, and then I grabbed 6 more beef taco rolls on the way to the short game area, which I basically inhaled. And by the time I got to the first tee, I could tell something wasn't quite right. Well, I remember getting really gassy during my ball church for my 3rd shot on 1. But it really wasn't until my fairway bunker shot on 2 that I actually felt some discharge. And with the volume, the consistency, and how early in the round was, I knew right then I was in big trouble. Oh, I tried. But you guys know that porta potty next to 4 green has been tipped over on its side since early June, so it's a viable option. So after making a pretty gritty 6-net 5 on 2, I made it over to that wooded area, and I used my briefs and one of my socks to do a little cleanup. And then made it back to the 3rd tee just in time to stuff 1 to 4 feet, setting up a nice little 2-putt par. That was probably my best swing of the day. Yeah, I think that was actually the turning point, especially because of the heat. I dealt with some minor leakage on 4 and 5, but was kind of able to play through it. Then on 6, I'm on the right rough waiting for the green to clear. And I asked my playing partner, Barry, if I could borrow his towel. And he said, absolutely not. So I used my other sock and the head cover for my hybrid to get the worst of it. But it was short-lived because nothing could have prepared me for what was going to happen on number 7. Yeah. I was getting ready to hit my 4th from left of the green, and an alarm bell started going off internally that honestly I'd never heard before. The closest thing to me at that point was Ken Perry's above ground pool. So I managed to get over there and kind of position myself behind the decorative lattice work of the pool deck and just absolutely unloaded. My pants and my left sandal took the brunt of it. So I just kind of draped them both on Stan's pool pump and left them there. Then I kind of fashioned this towel into a makeshift loincloth and went ahead and just played on in.
All right.
Yeah, I made 2 really solid pars on 8 and 9 to kind of salvage my round. And to be totally honest, I couldn't be happier with the way I battled out there.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, broadcasting live from the Kobe Cooling Remote Studios, where it's always.
You're welcome, everybody.
It's up to you now. It's up to you. Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
As we approach a couple minutes past the hour, top of the morning to everybody. It is a Football Friday.
Football Friday.
Sort of.
Kinda.
Austin P. Central Arkansas kicking off week 0 of the college football season tomorrow night. The Austin P. head coach will join us next hour. We will be carrying the game for you tomorrow night. We are your home for football, after all. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, and it's why the Miller and Moulton Show can now be simulcast on the 24/7 Twitch channel known as the Landry Football Network, because, well, we are football. 479-5551 is how you can chime into the show via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line 239-479-5551. Mark, here's a question that I'm wondering, which we talked about briefly last hour. Our poll question yesterday was, do you support the athletes protesting in the way they did by not playing on Wednesday? And 51% said no. 49% said 2 different degrees of yes. Okay. Here's what I'm wondering. It could bother you. Let's just say talking to the 51%. So you're bothered by this. You don't support them. Okay. Does it bother you enough to not watch? Or does it just annoy you? You know, you may take a couple days off from them even. You may not watch this weekend. You may not come back to your sport of choice till next week. And it may take a little while for you to, I don't know, just work through your feelings. I mean, sports are very emotional. So, or is this like what we saw 4 years ago with the NFL? Kaepernick kneeled, a few others followed, and ratings went down. People said, I'm not watching this crap. Not doing it. You know, you had the VA there, the VFW, I should say, in Ohio, big Browns backers place, the whole deal. They got rid of the ticket. We're done. We're not watching. Now, I don't know if it's still that way at the VFW.
They came back last year. And I don't mean the VFW. I mean the NFL fan.
Oh, yeah, the last 2 years.
Over the course of the 2 years, 2016, the election year, audience went away, 2017, 2018, 2019. Audience all came back and exceeded where they were. They gained all of their lost audience and actually have increased their viewership. Now, the NBA numbers have struggled the last couple of years, and no one reports that because the media loves the NBA like no other league in America. But their numbers have dropped, and I've been very curious to see what these playoff numbers are going to be, because the first part of the bubble was not good to the NBA, but they were meaningless games. And the NBA fan knew that. I mean, not just the casual sport. The NBA fan knew that these games were meaningless. There is no point of me watching and teams aren't playing. But are they going to continue going down? And based on just some of the comments I got from folks yesterday, because you've heard me on the show. I have one fantasy league that's kind of a big money league, different kind of league, and the ownership of that's come south. So we're trying to fill some voids, and I reached out to people yesterday, and I was stunned by what I heard from people that are gamblers and sports watchers that are just telling me they're done with the NBA and they're done with the NFL before the season started because of what they're expecting.
Now, were these same people done 4 years ago? Like, were they done, they came back, and now they're done again?
Yes. In the case of one, yes. To the others, no, they weren't done 4 years ago, and they're done now. Others are just saying, from a fantasy football standpoint, talking to a friend of mine in Georgia yesterday, and she's like, I just don't know. I'm not very confident that we're going to have a whole season. And I said, well, if you're basing this on the league not finishing, let me explain something to you. The NFL is going to get to the finish line. I don't know exactly how, but I know they're going to get there.
For the record, by the way, there is one player on that COVID list right now in the whole league. I think it's a Jacksonville Jaguar. There's one player, and that doesn't even mean that you've tested positive. That could just mean that you were exposed to somebody with COVID. I mean, there's one player in the whole league right now. So even though they are not in an NBA, NHL bubble, when they are on site, they are. But of course, they're allowed to go home. Some teams have decided to make their situation a bubble. I mean, the Saints have. And the Saints have rented out a hotel, and they're putting themselves in a bubble. Oh, okay. Now the season hasn't started yet. The losing hasn't started yet. What happens when you get off to a 1-5 start? You're going to continue to be as disciplined as you are now when you're hopeful. But I mean, so far, amazingly, so good with the NFL. And for that matter, I mean, after the initial Marlins scare, I mean, you had, a handful
scare, which led to the Cardinals, which led to the, one red, one Met.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
so far, one red and one Met.
Yeah, so far, I mean, I don't know about you, but the Major League Baseball season's 5, almost 6 weeks old. Considering the fact that they are not bubbling at all and they're traveling from city to city, I mean,
should make you more confident about football.
Right. Now, college campuses right now, yeah, we're having outbreaks. There's no doubt about it. There are teams even yesterday. I mean, first off, there are games, if you pay attention every day, there are games that are being pushed back. East Carolina Marshall just got pushed back 2 weeks yesterday. You've got athletic activities that are being halted every day at a campus around the country. College football is going to be a little trickier to get started. But if you think about it, it's also the most likely scenario. I mean, it's not just a football team in a lot of cases. It's a football team and 15 to 30,000 students. Well, of course, there's going to be more coronavirus. And that's why we've said, if you're serious about having a season, you need to get rid of the undergrads, play your football, let them go to school online, then bring them back. I don't know what to tell you.
If I'm reading this right, the two highest outbreaks on campuses, I've got up a New York Times interactive tracker. UAB leads the college campuses with 972 cases, and Central Florida's North Carolina second, 835, and UCF third at 727. UCF has 50,000 students.
Right. Now, of those, we don't know how many of them are football players.
No, but David, they have 50,000 students at UCF. They have 727 cases. Do the math.
Right. That's like 1.5%.
Thank you. Don't act like this is some outbreak. This is less than the state of Florida testing positive. It's 1.5%. Stop it.
But as we've talked about, we don't know how much of an appetite university presidents have for numbers like that. Can they handle triple digits? Will somebody be able to say to them, sir or ma'am, it's only 1.4% of our general student population? Or will they just see that the number being 700 something? And so you don't know. It's each individual president, just like we've seen with governors. I mean, everybody's reacting differently, and some focus on some numbers, some focus on others. But college football is clearly, I think we can conclude, the most volatile of all the major sports because of the situation that they're in. Many campuses are trying to pull this off while having a campus and students on it. They're not isolating the athletes, so that's going to be trickier. But I am curious, back to the point of the protests, whether or not this is going to change, particularly, let's be honest, Mark, in football. Is this going to change one's viewing habits? Because, let's just go forward. Let's just look at November. November is normally one of the great sports months. NBA has started. Hockey's in month 2. College and pro football are in full swing. College basketball starts the first full week of the month, basically. Well, none of us think college basketball is going to be played in November. I mean, everybody in the sport thinks that it's basically going to be a January of 2021 situation.
Well, it's already that way for certain in the Pac-12. And we already know the conference is not even playing sports until January at the earliest.
And the NBA and the NHL are not going to be playing. They're not going to play until December at the earliest. And baseball's done at the end of October. I mean, there will only be one sport being played in this country. Unless you're really into early season golf, and or you're a huge NASCAR fan, because it'll be the stretch run for their playoffs. But there will be college and pro football. That will be it. That will be the only thing going on in November, basically, in this country.
Well, the Masters.
Well, that is true. That'll be a nice little.
I will say that'll
be a nice little. Yeah, there you go. Nice little shot there.
Because when I went back and forth with someone I hadn't talked to in a while, and they're angry and done with everything, I kind of said, well, at least you've got the SEC, the PGA, and NASCAR. Because the SEC ain't ever kneeling for an anthem, and the PGA is going to keep on playing. And, well, by the way, NASCAR's still running this weekend, right? They're not going to take this off, are they?
Aren't they at Daytona? Aren't they?
I understand, but are they? They're not. They're not having a boycott, are they?
No.
Okay, just making sure.
No.
I'm not kidding. I mean, literally, the conversation with John last night, he said, I don't know if we're having NASCAR. Are they going to do the same thing? I don't think so. But your question, and it probably should have been our poll question, even though we're only asking the 51% who voted no yesterday, those that are against the protest in all shapes and forms, which was a little over half our audience. And if I'm sports leagues, I'm concerned with a poll like we had yesterday.
Sure.
The next question is, and this is where it's tough to get real solid research on a show like ours, but it's similar to what goes on in Congress right now. What do you think of Congress? They suck. What do you think of your congressman? He's doing a terrific job. And those are the numbers. Like Congress's approval rating's what, 8%? But your personal congressman's approval rating is well over 50, 60, 70%. It's a fascinating thing. So on that same thing, 51% are angry, upset, not supportive of the protest. Of those 51%, how many are done watching? That's the question. And we had a text yesterday from a listener saying he thinks the NFL numbers are going to go down. I had two friends tell me they're done with the NFL before the season's even started. So this is not, I mean, these are, three arbitrary people not asked in groupthink that came to me all into, one came to the show, two came to me with these points of view. Leads me to believe, David, that at least a good portion of that 50% for the time being are done.
I would agree. I would agree, especially for the first half of the football season, because let's face it, Election Day is November 3rd. And depending on who you're voting for and depending on your point of view on this, okay, maybe you'll either be, your position will be hardened after November 3rd, or it might be softened after November 3rd. And it's part of why I brought up November, Mark. Now, to me, November is an interesting month. The election comes and goes on November 3rd. And for the most part, yes, we'll have 3 NASCAR races and we will have the Masters. All right. But there will be no baseball, there will be no basketball, and there will be no hockey. You will be left with football. Now, right now, we have not seen a social justice protest amongst college football. I think we're going to see it in some way, shape, or form this year. I do. I don't know how they're going to do it. We've talked about it before. The anthems, first off, they get played usually when the players are in the locker room. Secondly, they're not televised. All right. So I don't.
Sidebar. Who's doing the anthem at college games this year, David? You think they're going to have the bands out there with no fans or 20% fans? Just to throwing it out there.
Well, once again, when we've talked about this, if they're allowing anyone in the stadium, first off, I would allow the bands. Okay. I want to create an atmosphere of some kind. All right. I've got a 50 to 100,000 seat stadium here. I can socially distance the band. Okay. I mean, I can. And the other thing is they're students, they're paying. Okay. In many ways, they're paying tuition and they're paying fees.
Yeah. You're not on a dolly in the band.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a lot of hours and time and money you have to spend to perform for people. You do not get a whole lot back out of being in the marching band in college.
And so, to keep the band out, to me, I mean, this isn't like the local high school, which we've talked about if they're not allowing fans. And we've got a couple of local bands, which got 200 members in them. And we're like, oh, they're going to allow the bands? They could use the one grandstand to socially distance the band, and you would like to think they would let the band in.
Now, me, if I were a university president, I would allow the students to not social distance and all be in one end zone. They're already doing it all the time around campus. Let's at least have one end zone with some atmosphere.
Well,
I'd call it the COVID zone.
Well, there was a,
sponsored by West.
Well, not along those lines. Not to get too nitty gritty, but there was in the last 48 hours, there is a test that is very easy to give and $5. And you need 15 minutes. You need 15 minutes and $5. And so in theory, think about what a game changer this could be for sports leagues. Now, you'll have to line people up coming in and socially distance them.
There probably have to be a good distance from the entrance to the stadium. I almost see like a staging area, if you will, that there's a big tent. You go get tested, and then you make your way down a lane to the game, one on each side of the stadium, if you will. Maybe one on every corner of the stadium. But yes.
But think about it, and then in 15 minutes, you find out, oh, you're negative. Well, you can go in.
You're positive. Go back to your dorm room and infect the rest of the floor.
But we could do this in, NFL. This might be the way that the NBA and the NHL can resume next year and resume in December, whether we have a vaccine that's widely available or not, because in theory, we've got affordable, easy, convenient testing to determine, and in theory, everyone who's being let in is negative for the coronavirus. Thank you very much. You could still, even just to play it safe, force everybody to wear a mask. Okay, but you will feel pretty confident, and as we've talked about over time, from a lawsuit standpoint, if you are worried about being sued, well, if that day came, you'd be like, well, we took the test before they walked in. It was negative. What do you want us to do? We paid for the test, by the way. Now, I don't know if they would. I don't know if that would come with your ticket price or not.
And that was what I said. I mean, flat out, $5 more on your ticket to be able to go to a game so you can get tested. I don't know how you wouldn't pay that.
And there are a lot of people that would. It's basically, look at it as it's an extra $5 onto your parking. Okay. Whatever. Instead of
You're
$5,
paying
it's $10.
$25 for parking.
Right. So, but the 51% interested me. Not that it was 51%, because I thought it was going to be at least 45%. I thought yes was going to win close. Thought it was going to be about 53-47, 54-46. As it turned out, no won close, 51-49.
And I thought no would win 55-45 is what I thought going in.
But is it enough of a no that you're not going to watch? Because, hey, let's be brutally honest. Let's pull the cover back. We got a few comments yesterday from people who are not NBA fans, but they're NHL fans. Okay. And they kind of stuck their chest out and pounded it a little bit and said, I don't need the NBA. I got my hockey.
Well, you don't now.
Well, right. And so at 2:00 yesterday, when the word was coming down that hockey's going to take a couple of days off, I thought about a couple of those texters and thought to myself, okay, well, now what are you going to do? This is in your backyard now. This is where you live. All right. What are you going to do?
I texted a couple people yesterday. I just said thoughts.
Did you get any?
What? And that's just about the NHL canceling games. Oh, didn't know. And then it was radio silence. Hey, look it. I have made the decision in my life that I am not going to let politics control what I watch and listen to from a sports, television, and music standpoint. If it does for you, that's fine. But I would ask all of you that aren't going to watch football because of politics, tell me what your favorite musicians are that you listen to and your favorite actors. And let's peel the onion back on what they support. And my guess is in a lot of cases, you're not going to like what you find. So to each his own. I thought, we've said all along, we're two 50-plus-year-old white guys. We think it's a good time to listen. You don't want to listen? It's your choice. Very clearly. But the fact of the matter is, I would be nervous, regardless of what anybody's personal preferences are, David. If I'm running a league right now,
sure,
all like that makes me very nervous.
Well, the NBA ratings, I mean, come on, they're down 45% over the last 7 years. NFL is flat over those 7 years. All right. And on a week-by-week basis and regional numbers and what have you, Major League Baseball's flat. All right. Meanwhile, and hockey, if anything, is up. NBA is down 45% during that time. 45%. I mean, that's losing almost half your damn audience. And this is during the age of LeBron. You had Kobe for most of it. Okay. And 45%. You had a couple of two dynasties during this run.
10% went down because LeBron went west. Okay, I'll grant you that. Still 35%. That's still more than 1 in 3 left you.
And
that's not a small number. That is tragic closed door meetings. We've got to figure this out now numbers, David.
I mean, Ethan Strauss of The Athletic said, hey, I don't know how you, if you're the NBA, can conclude anything other than your being politically active has hurt you. It has cost you viewers. Now, this is the road you've decided to go down, and there is no... Now, we've seen an example here recently. ESPN was going down that road 3-4 years ago. They had a change in leadership. The new leader came in and said, we are done with politics. Done. And he got rid of the people who wouldn't abide by the rules, by the way. Got rid of them. Changed it. The NFL was done with ESPN. Done. They were dead to the NFL. And this guy, for 3 years, kissed their butt. Did whatever he wanted, put the draft in primetime, the whole deal, stop the politics, stop the criticism, the whole deal. And now they're likely back in, and they're back in right at the exact same time that what? The last few months has happened. And much of their programming is going back down that road. But where is it not going down that road? When it talks about the NFL.
Right. I turned it on right before sport. Last night I happened to watch Scott Van Pelt's 10 o'clock Sports Center for 15 minutes before I went to bed. And they had an NBA show on before. And David, trust me when I tell you, that show was about social justice. That's what the NBA is right now.
Well, but sure, they didn't play because of it.
I understand that, but I mean, they're not just doubling and tripling down. They're all in on those shows. And that's the stance they're taking. So it will be interesting to see not just what happens with the NBA, but as you pointed out, ESPN's been in a ratings decline that they are trying desperately to pull themselves out of. And here now they've been thrown in the exact situation that many think led to their ratings decline. And where do you go? There's no games going on, and they're not going on because of social justice. You're a sports network. What the hell are you supposed to talk about? We would much rather be breaking down the last cuts of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now. We would. It's easier. But this is what's in front of us. And I think sports leagues have a hell of a challenge ahead of them.
Now, what may help them, by the way, is that the commissioner of said NFL has seemingly changed his tune from what it was 4 years ago, which is partly why the NFL was so angry with the four-letter network. You know, the commissioner's been on a big apology tour here for the last few months. So maybe that network can cover the NFL a little bit more like they're covering the NBA going forward. Maybe, but we doubt it. Miller and Moulton. Our poll question at millerandmoulton.com is real simple. Are you watching or listening to the Austin Peay Central Arkansas game tomorrow night? Yes, and I'm betting it Central Arkansas -3.5, or no. It's a game we'll have for you live and exclusive right here on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
This is the Herd with Colin Cowherd.
Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to start for the Miami Dolphins.
Yes, the NBA got turned off in China, but the NBA got turned off in China because of Daryl Morey, the Houston Rockets GM's
back on
tweet, in which he.
So, Aug, by the way, I want Aug's answer because, sorry, David, I'm curious. I'm more curious. Yeah, they got turned off. That's Morey, and it was a long time ago. They're not turned back on. I can't watch the NBA games with statements written on the court and jerseys. Why? I mean, Aug, I want to seriously. Why? It says Black Lives Matters on the court, and they've got some social justice stuff on the top of their jerseys. Now, my only problem with the stuff on the jerseys is I don't know a lot of the names in the NBA anymore. So I'm having a hell of a time figuring out who they are. But that's a me problem. Let me know who your two favorite actors are. I mean, do you like Kevin Spacey or do you not like him anymore? I mean, I could do hours on this because it just fascinates me that that's what bothers someone watching a game. Hell, I can't, when they're going, I can't even see what the damn statements are. I'm watching the ball. And I'm not trying to chastise you. I write out as long of a reason and answer as you can because I am fascinated by your answer, sir. I really and truly am.
Yeah, and I'm the wrong guy because, as you could tell, if listening or watching us now, I can zone a lot of things out.
He's zoned me out for 3 straight minutes during a commercial.
Right. I don't see it, to be brutally honest with you. I don't see it on the court. You know, I maybe see it once. I gloss right over it. I don't, because also I don't care. I'm there for the game.
Right. I am. I just want to watch the games. That's why I sent back to my buddy about fantasy. It's like I've been playing fantasy football for 15 years. I love my Sundays because of fantasy football. They make all the games more enjoyable to me. So I could give a rat's ass what their political statements are. I need 1 to 4 on Sundays for my personal well-being. So I'll sacrifice whatever it is if I don't necessarily agree with them to have my fun. It doesn't matter to me, but it does to some people. I don't get it though. You know what? My wife, we were watching the game the other day, the NBA game, and she says, "You know what I really like with all the stuff on the court and all those things." Because she doesn't know who any of the NBA are. She goes, "This is confusing the hell out of me." She goes, "You know what I really like? The shot clock down on the court." She goes, I love that graphic because I found myself looking to the corner and missing a play. She goes, I really like that graphic. And I was like, huh, okay. I do too, for the record. What do you think of the shot clock above the free throw line there on the court?
I like it. I do. Works for me. I have a much bigger problem with, I just don't like the style of play right now in the NBA. I don't like it at all.
I'm totally with you. It's like when the Lakers came down in the first quarter and thumped Portland because they were making 16-foot jump shots. There was part of me that really enjoyed Davis making range jumpers because it was a game that you and I are more. And by the way, Nick, if you're going to give me a great Ticketmaster takedown, you can't come back with your heartfelt Mets crap. I mean, let's either got to be one or the other, Nick. Come on, man. And I'm just kidding, Nick. Nick had Nick's last N roller there. His name's Nick, David. I happen to, a lot of the nicknames, I actually know what their names are, so I refer to these people by name.
Right.
Battlewater is Sean. M. Charpentier, his name is Mark. Foot Fan, I don't know his name, but if he tells me, I will call him by his name. Well, I'm a little bit tighter with the listeners and texters now, David.
I know you are, Mark. I know you are.
He wants to punch me right in the throat. Right? If he could jump through the screen,
I'm ignoring you. I'm ignoring. I'm enjoying it, but I'm ignoring you. Not taking it personally. I do want to hear the rest of the Club Pro guy, though.
That was it. That was the whole thing.
29 minutes before the hour. Halfway home on this Football Friday. Thanks for being with us, Miller and Moulton. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Streaming at millerandmoulton.com. Broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels. You can always chime into the show in our YouTube and Twitch chat rooms or by calling or texting into the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. 479-5551. 239-479-5551.
Fired up, David.
Why is that?
I just did it.
Did what?
Made the bet on Central Arkansas.
Laying 3.5?
I got it at 4.
Ooh, money's coming in.
Yeah, well, they're a better team.
They are. They beat them last year on the road. This one's neutral. Game being played in Montgomery, Alabama, part of the Kickoff Classic. Central Arkansas was a top 10 team in FCS entering the playoffs a year ago. They got upset, actually, in the second round at home against Illinois State.
Trying to step up our commercial breaks here. Nice conversation with some folks during the break. I pointed out to David that I know a lot. David will use their nicknames or their avatars, and I tried to tell him a lot of these people what their avatars. I actually know their names.
Right.
And because that's me. I try to be tight with the listeners.
Ladies and gentlemen.
It's hysterical, David, because about 6 have reached out since I've said that there's room, like we're trying to find fantasy. And they're like, I'll take the spot. And I'm like, yeah, we're good. We're going to keep that line of division right there. I don't need anybody.
So they're your peeps until they want to,
No, they're listeners, and I try to treat them with as much respect as humanly possible. They're all hardworking. They're all hardworking Southwest Floridians, except for in the case of people that are listening in other areas. We're big in Dayton, Rockford, Illinois. Those are 2 of the towns we're big in. I'm telling you. We get Dayton and Rockford every day.
Well, I know we're big in North Central Jersey also. And not just because of my mother. She's turned a few people on to us. So, we've got a little bit of a posse going on there. They like the fact we don't scream and yell at each other. Right? Because they said, the Northeast are like, we've got enough of that. Don't mind you guys. I wake up in the morning, you don't get me agitated. I like that. Okay, good to know. Thanks. Miss any part of the show, go to millerandmoulton.com and download our podcast. It's also where you can go for our poll question, which is very simply, are you going to watch or listen to the first college football game of the year tomorrow night? You can listen to it right here on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. You can watch it on the 4-letter network tomorrow night. I think it's a 9 o'clock kick. Maybe it's 8, but I think it's 9 Eastern.
I thought you were onto something with 9, David. I'm not positive, but I thought that was a 9 p.m. kick.
Austin Peay, Central Arkansas. Are you going to watch and or listen? Yes. Hell yes, and I'm going to bet it. Or no.
So far, no is leading, but it is
Unbelievable.
not over 50%. The yeses are winning in totality, David, but a little under 48% say they're not watching. 30% say they're watching, but David, 22% are betting on it. Now those are our peeps.
If this is an accurate polling, and obviously we don't have a huge sample size, our margin of error is a little bigger than when they do national polling and all that. But if, let's just say, for sake of argument, that it ends up being that over half of our audience is going to watch or listen to this game, but you're going to turn away from the NFL when they kneel? Really? You're watching Austin Peay and Central Arkansas. Are you telling me you're going to turn away from the Chiefs and the Texans? I mean, that is a little hard for me to believe. You might be annoyed by it. I get it. You know, just like, I mean, Mark, we talk about it. Hockey fan is a dedicated fan.
Oh,
right? They're in.
Maybe in the last 5 to 7 years, we've noticed soccer fan emulate hockey fan. Is that when you bring it in, when we brought up hockey in Act 1, if hockey came up, I mean, the texts and the calls that would come in, because hockey guy was just excited. The next batch of that was UFC guy that sat there and tried to let you know how great their sport was. And then soccer guy is that same way. But hockey guy, tested and true as the guy that always watches.
And so now politics or social justice has entered your sport for really the first time. I mean, because with all due respect, hanging a banner saying, you know, we're against racism. Well, God, I would hope so. Okay, so, you know, but I mean, you know, I don't.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh, but it's just.
I mean,
really, you're
no
against
offense,
racism, huh? Well,
I mean,
that's
I'm not
very big of you.
Yeah, I'm not going to give you a little something for the effort there. I'm sorry. I mean, that's really all that the PGA Tour.
It was a touch above the PGA Tour statement.
Yeah,
that's all that banner was. It was just a slight touch above the PGA saying they are shocked and appalled.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the PGA Tour and the NHL. Yeah, I'm not going to give you any credit here. If you're looking for it, I'm not going to give you any credit. Now, you're going to take 2 days off. You're going to sit out 4 playoff games? Oh, okay. All right. Now we're in the game. Okay. You're in the different, you know, section of the pool now. You know, your feet may not touch the bottom now. You might have to doggy paddle a little bit. Oh, okay. All right. Now this is different. And very interested how many, and you and I know a lot of hockey fans, a lot of them. How many of them will not watch this weekend because they're so annoyed that they didn't play last night and they're not going to play tonight?
You know, I may have to have an informal poll question with text to people that I know. And I'm 100% serious. I'll do it individually because I don't want people to start arguing with me.
But Mark, think of the fan bases involved here. Philadelphia, Boston, and Tampa Bay also. And, you know, Philly won their first playoff series in 8 years. Flyer fan is excited. And Flyer fan looks at the Islanders and goes, we can beat this team. We can get to the damn conference finals. And at that point, you're thinking, well, hell, anything's possible.
Well, and the Boston fans always embrace diversity so much, so you know they'll be right back in on Saturday.
And most Bruins and Lightning fans also are looking at their series thinking, well, the winner of this is going to the Cup. And then it's just a matter of, you know, can we beat Vegas or Colorado? But, you know, whoever wins this series is going to the finals.
Well, I think Boston fans got one more game in them before they get really disgruntled because the way, you know, when the kid came in for the backup comes in for Rask and plays well for a handful of games and then gets just lit up in game 3 and looked bad and Boston looked worse. They've got to play, you know, because if there's another one of those, this sucker's over.
No doubt.
Boston fans teetering right now anyhow.
Right. I actually think the Bruins could use the time off.
No doubt.
I think if you're Tampa, you're like, oh man, this kind of, you know, we're on a roll here. We're playing really well. We won 5 of 6. We're ready to go. You know, let's keep going. We played our best game of the playoffs last time out, but Anyway, so I am curious as to how hockey fan reacts this weekend, because they felt as if this whole social justice thing, this is not really entered my world here. This hasn't touched my sport. Yeah, they've said a few things and they want to be more diverse. Yeah, okay, fine, that's a good thing. Okay, but just keep playing, guys. Keep playing. I missed you for 4 months. It's playoff hockey. I love it. It's set my nights around it. Let's go.
I will say, David, it is interesting that you just asked, hockey fan, and I said I'm going to form a little informal poll. That you did it for me, because there's been a few buzzes on my phone of hockey fan that I wasn't even thinking of texting that reminded me I have their number in my phone with just one word comments like pissed. But the question becomes, will you watch on Saturday? And they are going to, I guarantee you, they will do something will happen before they play. Every team will do something to show some form of solidarity. Will they take a knee? I don't know. Will they all stand together in lock arms? I don't know. But if you don't think something else is going to happen when games begin, I think you're sorely mistaken. There will be another statement. And I've said all along, David, we talked about this yesterday. What is next for all of these leagues and what they are going to try to do, because they used the power that they had to boycott games. Okay. They got the attention. Okay. Now what? And as you said, with, Jordan stepping in and trying to use venues for voting places, I think those are productive steps. But largely the next action period and where these players stand is going to mean a lot to me.
One thing I want to bring up before we break for today was the day when, we have had things that have happened that have dictated behavior. Well, what if we have another incident? What if there's another tragedy of some kind? Can these athletes keep protesting? Or does there come a point in which, to me, if I was Jordan, I would be saying to these guys, if you come back, you're in it for the duration. Okay? Even if something next week happens. I mean, either you're in or you're out. But we can't keep doing this. At least I don't think you can. We'll support you, but we got to finish this season. That's what I'm wondering. All of these leagues, baseball, basketball, hockey, that I'm wondering, because, Mark, don't know what's going to happen in the world today. Something tragic could happen 3-4 weeks down the road.
Well, look at right now, the things they're protesting on, at the rate we're going, they're going to have something else to protest on in 10 days.
And I'm just wondering, can you keep going to this well, if you know what I mean?
That's why, to me, whatever the actions are, whoever that the players try to align with, whatever they try to do when their season ends, to continue to be active. And we all know they're going to try to be as active as possible till November, and then we'll see what happens beyond. But what's their plan? At some point, there has to be a plan, David.
And
after protest after protest after protest, there has to be the organized, and there has to be a plan. And right now, they're just protesting. I get it. There has to be a plan.
And you wonder if a league can walk the line that we tried to bring up yesterday. Can a league say, hey, I respect you. I applaud you for what you're doing. Hell, I may even support you. But we are a business after all. And at some point, we're going to have to start forfeiting games here because we got to move along. And I am wondering if we have a tragedy in the next couple months and players want to, as David Sampson said yesterday, let's call it what it is. It's a strike. It's either a boycott or a strike. at what point, if you're the league, do you go, I get where you're coming from, but just so you know, that's a forfeit. And if that causes you to take your ball and go home, well, I don't know what to tell you.
And what happened? How did the owner, like I said before, the owners are more comfortable with this now because it's not affecting their bottom line the same way. There are no fans in the stands. They're not having to deal with refunds and bringing people back and all of the other things that would go into a full crowd, or like when COVID hit and you had to cancel a game and send people home. This isn't costing the owners the way it would if there was 20,000 or 50,000 or 80,000 fans in the stands. When there are, the owners are not going to be as easily manipulated as they're being right now. They will take a harder line.
And I think more fans would be annoyed
Damn
if, in
right.
fact, they were on their way to games and or at games, and all of a sudden they get canceled.
Marlins, David. You're
exactly.
Think of it. You, Edison, New Jersey. You jump. I mean, you didn't do what you did. You grew up and you stayed in your hometown. You said, you know what? We're going to the game tonight. You get on the train. You make your all the way to the city, and you're there in the stands, and they walk off. You've spent your time. You've spent money. You're honked.
Now, I'll get my money back, although I won't get my parking back and I won't get my concessions. And most of us, will have walked in and already, dropped $30, $50. And then we sit down, and you're right. Absolutely. Which does play into the player's hand here. I think they can gain more support because they're annoying less people, because they're not annoying anyone at the gate.
Yep.
14 minutes before the hour. Today was the day when. Next on Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Everyone is so focused on the Trailblazers and their ability to possibly beat the Lakers. But the fact is that the Trailblazers match up terribly with the Lakers. The matchup favors the Lakers. The conditioning favors the Lakers, even if the health probably favors the Lakers.
Ooh. Afternoons at 3 on Southwest Florida's Fox.
Okay, here's my thing. Here's what I don't understand. Where was the knock on Darren Ravel and all that?
That's not the Ravel one.
Oh, okay, sorry.
The Ravel one's weeks old.
Gotcha.
Our audience has probably all heard that now. That one just came out yesterday. That's the Thursday. He has a fake Thursday night league. So on Tuesday, he'll put out a post of who his opponent is and the tee time. And then Thursday, he has a post-round presser in which he's answering questions that are never asked. Which is because if you saw questions, and he's looking like there are reporters there, which they're obviously not there. So that was just the post-round presser. He says, I'm doing this outside today for obvious reasons.
We took a burger that was already delicious and spiced it up. Why are we using this whip crack to explain it? Because jalapenos sound like this. Try the new spicy Western bacon cheeseburger at Hardee's. Feed your happy. Limited time only at participating Hardee's restaurants. Price and participation may vary.
Summer clearance event going on now at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Lowest prices ever on over 1,500 new and certified pre-owned vehicles. All new Jeep Gladiator Overland lease, $399 per month. Loaded luxurious Grand Cherokee limited lease, $329 per month. New Ram Bighorn Crew Cab lease, $319 per month. That's right, award-winning Ram trucks, $319 per month. Plus at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, you can drive payment-free for 3 months, interest-free for 6 years, and worry-free up to 100,000 miles. And our parts service and body shop are open to serve you. Summer clearance event featuring Ram Bighorn Crew Cabs for $319 per month at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, 1/2 mile south of Daniels Parkway on US 41 in Fort Myers. Open every day, including Sunday. Call 239-48.
Dave, I got a stat here that at 91, Tom Browning pitched against Dennis Martinez. Is that the only time? And it says both perfect game pitcher. Is that the only time that's ever happened?
Well, you wonder if Koufax and Jim Bunning ever faced each other for the Phillies and the Dodgers.
It's exactly what I was thinking. I hope everybody else found that funny because that was pretty funny.
I will say, though, Koufax threw his perfect game with only like a year and a half left in his career, I think. and Bunning threw his perfect game on Father's Day in '64.
So the odds are that is the first one.
And Koufax's last game was a '66 season. So, but also at the time, Mark, I mean, we've had now, I think there's like 23 or something like that perfect games that we've had.
Or visit us in Naples or our newest store in Fort Myers.
When we talk the talk,
This is what we talk about. He's talking about right and wrong.
we back it up.
Talk about what you know.
We're Fox Sports Radio. And when we talk
It's funny. I don't believe Maddox, Glavin, or Smoltz ever threw a no-hitter.
Good sports talk radio.
on Fox Sports
Pedro never had a no-no. Schilling never had a no-no. Pedro was perfect for 9 innings with the Expos. Had his perfect game broken up in the 10th.
Of Southwest Florida. We're still finding a lot
But it's funny, the pitchers who never even threw a no-hitter.
of today for a free inspection. Google DRM Roofing or call 239-332-1441.
License number CCC 1326954.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is DR Martineau.
Looking for a frameless shower door? My shower door.
I am. I'm looking for a frameless shower door. It's the first thing I thought of this morning when I got up.
Yeah.
With more than 75,000 frameless shower doors installed, no one has more experience and 5-star reviews than My Shower Door. We've been named #1 by readers of the News Press and Naples News for 17 consecutive years.
God, I wish I had Seth on the show today. It's Lupinella's birthday.
Now back to Miller and Moulton. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
9 minutes before the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. MillerandMoulton.com is how you can stream the show. It's where you can go for our poll question, which is, are you going to watch or listen to Austin Peay Central Arkansas tomorrow night on the 4-letter network? Although we're carrying it for you on the radio here on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. You've got 3 answers. Yes, yeah, and I'm betting it, or no. And so far right now, a majority of you are watching or listening to this game. And we love you for it.
Yes, we do.
Absolutely.
Yes, we do.
8 minutes before the hour now. Time for
Miller and Moulton's Today Was the Day When, giving you the history of today's date so you're a beacon of useless knowledge around the office.
Useless, but a lot of fun to talk about.
This is Today Was the Day When. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
David, today was the end of the Roman Empire.
Really?
We start in 476 AD when Orestes, the father of Romulus Augustulus, was captured and executed. And that was it. The Roman Empire over today. Little tidbit for you when you go to work.
Just like that.
1884, we jump about 1,400 years. MLB pitcher Mickey Welsh, no idea who he pitches for because they didn't bother to give me that, makes a record for most consecutive batters struck out to begin a game when he strikes out the first 9. Today in 1963, Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his I Have a Dream speech in Washington. 1965, Bob Dylan was booed because he played an electric guitar at concert at New York's Forest Hills. You know, that whole folk thing.
Right.
72, Olga Korbut became the media darling, wins the gold in the team all around, followed with 2 golds and a silver at the Munich Games. 1973, Smoke on the Water goes gold, the Deep Purple song about a Zappa show where a fire broke out. Also in 73, Let's Get It On, the Marvin Gaye album, his 13th, was released. Big day in 76 for you, David. Cosmos beat the Seattle Sounders for the NASL Cup. 77, Nolan Ryan strikes out 300 for the 5th straight year. And Rod Guidry beats Texas 1-0. He faced 28 batters. I loved Ron Guidry.
Louisiana Lightning, baby.
Got that right. 77, Cosmos made it back-to-back, knocking down Seattle for their back-to-back title. 1981, Reagan was shot today. 1983, Greg Luzin.
Wait, no. No.
Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? No, John Hinckley pleaded innocent today.
Gotcha.
My bad. Scratch that last 5 seconds. 83, Luzinski, first player to put 3 under the roof at Comiskey.
Well, you know, I have a signed Greg Luzinski picture in pristine condition, too.
He's a Southwest Floridian. I used to run into him all the time.
If I ever have that garage sale that I've talked about, I've got a lot of good sports stuff. I cleaned the room last week.
In your studio, kind of like, what you see.
Whatever.
1990, Ryan Sandberg, first second baseman to hit 30 home runs in consecutive season. 1991, thanks to the research of David Moulton during the break, Tom Browning faced Dennis Martinez. It's the first time in Major League Baseball history that two perfect.
Nope.
Oh, it's not.
No, I'm looking it up right now. Final day of the 66 regular season, Koufax and Jim Bunning faced one another. Bunning had threw his perfect game in 64. Koufax threw it the year earlier in 65. Mark, Koufax and the Dodgers had to win to make the playoffs. Remember, you didn't have LCSs. If you made the playoffs, you went straight to the World Series. Koufax, if he had lost, it would have been his final game because he retired after that year. Koufax on 2 days rest beat Jim Bunning. And Dodgers went to the World Series where they got swept.
Been a little nicer if you'd had that a couple of minutes ago for me. I was pretty stupid there.
No, you didn't. I stopped you.
I'll do it again later. There's still an hour left in the show. 2004, big upset. We lost the 4x100 relay to Great Britain by 1/100th of a second. Also in that 2004 Athens Olympics, it was Manu Ginobili leading Argentina for the gold medal. That's right. Argentina beat Italy for the gold medal. If you were born today, these two people were born in 1943. Both 77 today. David Soul, that's one half of Starsky and Hutch, I believe the one that your wife liked, and Lou Piniella. Too bad we couldn't get Seth on. Speaking of Louisiana Lightning, Ron Guidry is 70 years old today, born in Lafayette, Louisiana. Figure skater Scotty Hamilton, 62. Lee Jansen, 54. Shania Twain, 55. Pierre Turgeon is 51. And I got a little lost there. That's really about it. No one else. Oh, Leanne Rimes. That was the last one. Country singer Leanne Rimes. She is 38 today. That is, today was the day when on this August the 28th. Today was the day when, brought to you by Norma Jeans by Page Field in Fort Myers. I will be updating those on the weekend. We will have fresh sponsors for unsponsored segments beginning on Monday,
of which we have plenty.
Yeah,
Miller,
we've got a whole new line of this sucker.
Miller and Moulton.
You're clear.
It's that time again to hear from our good. So Koufax is 26-9, and we love talking to Dave. The Dodgers are playing a doubleheader, and they lose the first game of the doubleheader, and they need a win, or else the Giants are going to go to the World Series. So Koufax has to pitch the second game on 2 days rest. He's facing 19-game winner and future Hall of Famer Jim Bunning. Koufax on 2 days rest, 26-9, goes out, wins his 27th and final game of his career.
We're going to show what the leaders of tomorrow look like today.
Sorry about that. Go on. Is there more?
He pitched the Dodgers in the World Series. They got swept by the Orioles. That was it.
Oh, damn. I thought there was more to the story.
But that was the first time that two guys who had thrown perfect games faced one another. And I think the second time was what you talked about, Dennis Martinez against Tom Browning.
Nothing else?
No, that's all I got. We got the Austin Peay coach coming up here.
Damn it. I had the song ready and everything. All right, hang on here. I got to get this done.
We're going to do it and do it often.
We're Fox Sports Radio.
Pool need a checkup? Call the doctor, the Pool Doctor.
Hi, Dr. Mark here. Is your pool a pain to operate? Automation is the answer. Use your phone to turn on your spa, and it'll be warm when you get home. Free on-site evaluations. We're a family company, And for over 40 years, we've been doing business right.
The prescription is Pool Doctor for award-winning
MARQUASE.
full-service repairs and unheard of $39 diagnostic calls. That's mypooldoctor.com or 239-574-1133. State certified CPC 057088.
WFSX AM from Naples to Cape Coral and all of Southwest Florida. 1059 Fox Sports Radio. We are Fox Sports. Here's what's trending now. Brought to you by the Center for Men's Health. C4MH.com.
Good morning. Marcus, good morning. How are you, sir?
How you doing, Mr. John?
This is actually Mark and David. This is the host. We thank you so much. We're going on about 30 seconds or so. I'm Mark.
Okay.
David will actually go first. We thank you so much for your time. Best of luck this season. Best health. Stay safe. All that kind of good stuff, man. Keep plugging away.
Thank you so much.
There's only one way to wake up in the morning. How the heck are you? Yep, that's it. Miller.
I drove, which made me happier. I didn't let anybody else behind the wheel of the car.
And Moulton.
Look at you. I'm the man of the house.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Broadcasting live from the Kobe Cooling Remote Studios, where it's always cool and comfortable.
It's up to you now. It's up to you.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
And as we approach a couple minutes past the hour, top of the morning to everybody. How the heck are you? Hope you've had a good week, and thanks for spending part of your Friday with Miller and Moulton on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. We're proud to have the first college football game of the year on our airwaves tomorrow night when Central Arkansas will be taking on the Governors of Austin Peay. And the Austin Peay head coach, Marcus Lovings, is kind enough to join us here on Miller and Moulton. Marcus, top of the morning to you. How are you and your family and staff doing during all this?
We're doing fine. We're doing as good as we can. We're bringing the kids over this morning, and then we're having a little practice, and then we get on the bus and head on down to Montgomery.
Well, you've been coaching a long time. I mean, this is what coaches do. So, how different? Just how, from everything, from COVID to the social reform that we're going through as a country right now, to the young athlete having more power than maybe they've ever had. How different has this year been for you?
Yeah, definitely been different. Definitely been a new place in college football. Definitely will have an asterisk by this year, I think, with all this taking place. From the COVID policy, though, I think our administration did an awesome job. I think we really amped it up, trying to be transparent with our kids and trying to always tell them the truth. Our administration is backed them up, and so we get tested once a week. And so, our kids will definitely wear our mask, and we're doing what we need to do. And we just passed another COVID test with flying colors. So the kids are really doing a great job there. With the whole social reform thing, man, the kids are understanding of what it is, And so if life was like a college football locker room, I think it would be better off, because everybody's trying to reach toward a common goal. It doesn't matter, what race, creed, or color you are. Everybody's trying to get toward one goal. And that's the awesome thing about being in a football locker room, but just moving forward, man, really excited about what's going on, and can't wait for Saturday.
Before we move forward to the game tomorrow night, which we're proud to be carrying here on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, Marcus, how much talking have you done versus how much listening have you done when it concerns the social justice part? Obviously, when it concerns COVID, you've had to do the talking and tell everybody what it is we're going to be doing, when, etc. But as the next, as the older generation black man in this time in our country, have you been doing the talking or have you been doing the listening?
I've been doing the listening because I have my own opinions, and so I want to hear what the kids have to kind of say. Being the younger generation, not understanding maybe the whole civil rights movement, maybe not understanding, what happened in history. I want to know what they know, and I want to know what they kind of feel. And so, God gave us 2 ears and one mouth, and so I really, really have to listen to these kids and see, exactly, what's going on in their minds and how they kind of want to approach this thing. And, I told the kids yesterday, we do want to do something. We're only going to do it as a team. And so there's anybody be different with anything else. We just want to create equality and be great for everyone.
Coach, as you said, you're listening. Well, we're two 50-plus-year-old white guys, so we have to listen. What have you heard from your players that has, opened your eyes, whether it's changed your mind on something, made you think differently about something? What have your young men been able to teach you as you've been preparing for the season?
Just adversity and being able to bounce back, and just all the different struggles that's going on in their life. And you don't really know. You got to sit down and talk to the kids and really see what's going on in their life, because different things are pulling at them a million miles an hour, whether it be all these conferences shutting down for football, whether it be Breonna Taylor, whether it be their grandfather going through something, whether it be cancer, whether it be, their sisters in an orphanage. I mean, the list can go on and on and on about, what people are kind of dealing with within their personal lives, and it affects us as humans. And at the end of the day, we look at them as big, 6'3", 240-pound guys. But at the end of the day, they're just kids. They really, really are. And so you got to treat them like so. And I think that's the thing that I'm really, really good at, is trying to raise young men or young boys into men. And so, I've had a short time to get around them, a short time to do that, but you got to listen to them and you got to give them sound advice that you think that they need.
He's Marcus Lovings. He's the interim head coach at Austin P, and they are practicing later today. Then they're getting on the bus from Clarksville, Tennessee, and they're going to Montgomery, Alabama to face Central Arkansas tomorrow night. The game is on the 4-letter network on television. We will be carrying it for you right here on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Well, we have a question that was sent in to our chat room to ask you about a running back that you got from Ohio State. Is he eligible? The fan says he's a beast.
Yeah, Brian Snead is a player that's on our roster, and yes, he will get to showcase his talent in front of the national audience.
Well, how is the team? You guys have been a solid program. This is obviously a different year. You're playing a Central Arkansas team that's pretty highly touted as well. These are two of the big boys at your level. Give us a little rundown. We were pretty fired up today. Our poll question was basically, are you watching? I mean, this is FBS football, and it's not Alabama against USC. And when our audience says over 50% says they can't wait for tomorrow night because they want guys with helmets to hit one another, give us a little rundown on your Austin P team heading to this game against Central Arkansas.
Yeah, we want our team to play with just relentless effort. That's the thing that we kind of hammered home. We can't really, control about, COVID, and we can't control about, what's going on from that standpoint, but we can control, our daily action, our attitude, our effort. And so we really tried to, emphasize that. With our team, though, man, they're really coming together. We've had a good week of practice heading into this week. And we understand our opponent, man. Our opponent is someone that we played last year, so we're very familiar with them. And so we have the utmost respect for Central Arkansas and the firepower they have on the offense and defensive side of the ball. But we got to take care of ourselves. And as long as we do that, I think we'll be just fine.
How much of an advantage or disadvantage in your mind, Marcus, is it to be playing this early as opposed to, having one more week to prepare? Yes, it does give you an extra week to get ready for, Pitt week 2 and then Cincinnati following. But I mean, is it an advantage to play week 0 or a disadvantage?
Advantage, I think, definitely recruiting wise, definitely getting out your brand on a national audience, something that you might not get to do week in and week out, like the FBS team. So definitely an advantage there. Definitely advantage for people who want to watch, their kids play or whatnot. They don't have to find on ESPN3. But I think as a coach, you'd always want one more week starting off the season. I think a lot of coaches kind of say that, but we're going to prepare until the ball hits the tee, and we'll keep preparing. The preparation is not over yet here in Clarksville. I mean, we still have a bunch more practices, a bunch more walkthroughs that's going to take place before Saturday night at 8:00.
Coach, as this year goes, how do you try to, I guess, like you said, you can't deal with COVID, but what's the excitement factor of your players right now? I mean, they've been, we've all been cooped up as Americans basically since March, but, we're in our 50s. It's not that big of a deal for us. Sitting on the couch all day sounds like a hell of a time. But if you're 18, this has been miserable. How hard is it just to keep, I would have to guess your scrimmages, and anytime pads are hitting one another, these guys have to be just jacked to be able to do something that feels normal.
They really are. They're excited about it. And just like you said, it's on that 4-letter word. And as a kid growing up, because they're prime time, that is some excitement going on. And, not only that, too, I just think our kids are excited to go play somebody else. I think anytime you go from a competitive standpoint, anytime you get ready to play someone else and it's the first time doing it, there will be some excitement. But, our kids got to kind of hone that in and just understand after the first hit, man, we're just trying to play football. And we're going to kind of keep it simple, make sure we tackle, make sure, we break tackles, make sure we're playing hard for 60 minutes and make sure we keep the ball in our possession and try to take the ball away from them. I mean, football, at the end of the day, we got to get the ball across the goal line, and we got to stop them from getting across the goal line. And if we can keep it simple, we'll be all right.
Marcus, final one from me. Was there ever a point in the last few months where you doubted that you would get this close to the season starting? Was there ever a moment in which you wondered, man, I don't know if we're going to play?
Yeah, there's always uncertainty. You just look at Twitter, or you look at, ESPN or CNN or whatever, news outlet you got, and, college football is in a sway, and they're still in a sway. Some people are playing, some people are not. But, really when the OVC came out and kind of made the statement of, you can play some non-conference games in the fall, and then we'll have our season more so in the spring, it kind of gave our kids some certainty. Other than that, though, very uncertain times. You didn't know kind of what was going on. And like I said, again, you got to be transparent with the kids because, they read just as much as you do now with just a scroll of their hand. So, I'm just glad the OVC finally came out with something. I'm glad we have a plan.
Marcus, my final question is just this, a little off of football, but you said you've been listening. We've been listening. I want you to talk to an audience that yesterday said 51% didn't agree with the protests. 49% did agree with the protest in the NBA and the WNBA and everything that's going on. So I'll just kind of give you the floor to let our audience listen to what you have to say, whether it's about the protest, what's going on, and what you'd like people of Southwest Florida to hear.
I like the people of Southwest Florida to hear that it starts at home. I really believe, what we teach our young people from an early age is how they'll kind of go, and how you kind of raise a child is how they'll kind of go. And I really believe that. And if, we can sit down with our young people and really tell them just to love everyone, and that, love is the greatest emotion, and love is what it's all about, I think that would really help America. And, I know Martin Luther King has his one way of saying it, but it's really true. If we can stop looking at people's race and creed and just go by the content of their character, I think it'd be really, really awesome for America to finally, put down, and it's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard, but you got to put down some of the things that happened in the past, and we really got to move forward and be progressive in our thought and our actions. And so that's what I want the people of South Florida to hear. Let's start off with love for everyone.
Well, Marcus, Coach, thanks for your time. Have a good practice today. Safe travels. Best of luck tomorrow. You're going to have a split season, Central Arkansas, Pitt, Cincinnati, and then you'll come back in the winter or the spring. So all the best to you and your governors, and hopefully we can talk again.
I appreciate you so much.
Thanks, Coach.
Marcus Lovings is the interim head coach of the Governors of Austin Peay, located in Clarksville, Tennessee. And that's old school. That's almost like reminds you of being in high school. We're going to have a practice, and then we're getting on the bus, and we're going to travel. They're not going to play, but traveling by bus the day before a game.
That is very high school. I would have to think there's a lot of our audience that just rather enjoyed that, if you know what I mean.
And we got a comment in our Twitch chat room that said, that is a man I would want to play for or have my child play for. So, and he goes, hey, if I have a strength, he goes, I think I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good helping kids out, helping boys become men and what have you. If I have a strength, that's probably it. And so that's a good strength to have these days.
And Brian Sneed is the kid he was talking about. So just a couple of you got Sneed for Austin P, who's their big stud, and Central Arkansas has their deep corner. Their corner, right. That is a stud.
Right. Well, that, a second projected second or third round pick, a Friday guy.
Projected a Friday guy.
Right.
So just, hey, a couple of things out there. We've got football, everybody. We've got two teams. We've got a line. We've got an over. I don't know what else we can see around here.
Nationally televised. There's not even a number associated with the network. Okay, it's like we like to say, Big Fox, it's the 4-letter network. There's no number associated with it. There's no 2, there's no 3, there's no news, there's no plus. Okay, they're on the 4-letter network, and because it's unique, they are the only game in the country tomorrow. A little station in Southwest Florida is like, can we carry the game? Sure. Okay. So we will.
As Tommy points out in Twitter, the new home of FCS football.
Don't get me started.
Moulton is already trying for. We don't know if we're going to get the Central Arkansas feed or the North Dakota State feed for that game. But David's trying to block off anything SEC on the network so we can get the Bison when they play in November against Central Arkansas.
But what do you think about, like the OVC, which is the FCS conference that they play in? They said, hey, if you want to schedule some non-conference games and do it in the fall, knock yourself out. And so they're playing Central Arkansas, Pitt, and Cincinnati. They're playing Pitt on the 12th, and they're playing Cincinnati on the 19th. And then they're going to, put the pads away for a while. And they're not going to come back till it's 2021. But, Mark, don't you think, like, Big Ten fan is listening to this going, boy, you know what?
Pissed off.
I could go for a little taste of this. I really could.
My fear of these interviews the last 2 days with these two coaches is we have a tremendous amount of Buckeye fans. I would honestly say that I think the Buckeyes are the third biggest fan base collegiately down here. Florida, Florida State, and then the Buckeyes.
Boy, I was actually thinking second.
You think more than the Knowles?
Well,
I don't. Just drive around and look at the Knowles stuff on cars. Too many.
No, I understand.
Too many people have paid for their children's college at Florida State in this market. But it's close. It is really close.
I've told the story before. When I was still at ABC7 locally, I made the choice for a couple years as to what games got shown on Saturdays. That was a perk. They came down, they said, what game should we show? And I picked the game. Well, in 2002, when Ohio State was undefeated, number 2 in the country, it was a mid-November game, and it was Florida State playing, NC State. But Ohio State was playing Purdue. And I said, we should run the Ohio State game. In Southwest Florida in 2002. And just, I'd been here almost 3 years and kind of made the call. Yeah, there's a ton of Buckeye fans here, and they're undefeated, number 2 in the country. This is a better game. Okay, let's show this game. And yeah, we had people, there were people that called in and complained, but they even said, the switchboard on Monday, they go, man, we thought you were going to get fired when you made this call. And we were surprised how the number of complaints were so much less than what we thought we were going to get. And that wasn't that far removed from, Bobby in Florida State had just had a 15-year run that was remarkable.
Yeah, but they didn't have an alumni office in Naples.
Right.
That's the one thing that really, when I moved here in 98 for the Everblades, one of the things that, there were several reasons I knew what we were doing was going to work. There was very little doubts in my mind when I moved to Florida to start an ECHL hockey team. You know, and I mean, our first meeting was on an office building on 41 in Alico, where there was Craig Brush, Dave Kessel, Bill McKay, John Ronan, and myself sitting Indian style on the floor trying to figure out how we get a phone number. That's no joke. And I still knew it was going to work because there was an Ohio State alumni office in Naples Park. We went to a Red Wings playoff game at the old Stevie Tomatoes on Shirley Street in Naples, which very well could be. I mean, there's been so many restaurants that have gone defunct there. That could be a month's worth of sponsorships on the show. But we went there for a Red Wings playoff game, and when dude pulls out the octopus and starts swinging it around inside the bar, Brush and I looked at one another and said, well, I think we've got a shot.
So, you know what? That might be an interesting poll question one day, too. More Buckeyes or Knowles fans in the 239? Because we think it's close. We really do. Gators are definitely number one, but we think it's close as for number two. But, yeah, Mark, once again, what's the team that we mentioned that Austin Peay is going to play here in 3 weeks? Cincinnati. Yep, that's right. You're a Buckeye fan, and imagine being a Buckeye fan living in the state of Ohio. You've got high school football on Friday, Cincinnati Bearcats football on Saturday, Browns and Bengals on Sunday, and you're not playing.
Right. I will say tomorrow night, as Big Val pointed out in the Twitch chat room, you can all chant around the television, "Let's go Peay! Let's go Peay!
Come on now.
Go Peay!"
Come on, they're the governors. They're the governors. But I know it's kind of like in South Carolina when all of a sudden the cheerleaders break out the Go Cox chant. And you look around going, what are they saying? What did they say? Yeah. They have shirts, actually, that go with it.
Yep, Go Cox. I've always thought that they're the Lady Gamecocks, and I've always thought they should be the Lady Game Hens. Never made sense to me that they're the Lady Gamecocks. They should be the Game Hens.
Have to bring it up sometime.
That's where I'm at with that. Miller and Moulton. Our poll question, it is about Austin Peay in Central.
Yeah.
Are you watching?
Or listening.
Or listening, because you're the home for FCS football right here, Fox Sports Radio.
Darn right.
And more importantly, if you are watching, are you betting?
Those are the
3.5 or 4. I got it at 4. And I feel really badly after talking to Coach there. Really wish I had that hook.
That's right. We didn't tell Coach that we're betting against him.
Oh, gosh, no. You can't do that.
No.
He'll find out when someone in the athletic department who's been listening to this wanted to make sure we did what we did right. But vote on our poll question. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, the good, the bad, and the ugly, still about 20 or so minutes away right here. Fox Sports Radio, streaming at millerandmoulton.com, and you are looking live on twitch.tv. I got to fill some coffee. Talk amongst yourselves.
Thank you, and hello again, everybody.
But it's always there, except this.
Yeah, I know I've told it before. I mean, 20 years of local radio, you tell a story more than once, but I thought it was NC State.
Major League Baseball.
I'm trying to, and I think it was NC State with Rivers.
Major League Baseball is here. How did that ball have that special sound?
But, you know, that was the first year that Florida State had fallen off the map. They had like 3 or 4 losses by November. And, you know, from 87 to 01 there, they were in the top 4 in the country. So interest was a little down. And I rode the hot hand with the Buckeyes. And that was the 4th down throw. The Holy Krenzel, you know, Musburger and Danielson with the call.
Kia, Toyota, Nissan, or Honda was worth
Gary was still with ABC then.
Is exactly what it'll be worth now, but only at Naples Nissan.
The 4th and 1 or 4th and 2 throw from Krenzel down the sideline.
Let's see here. A brand new Nissan.
And they scored late to keep their undefeated season going.
New tires. Bluetooth. No Bluetooth. Backup camera. No backup camera. Come on. It's a no-brainer, folks. Visit NaplesNissan.com for full details or come see us on Pine Ridge Road and drive home in that brand new Nissan 2.
Hey, Trenton.
Offers on select models with approved credit and cannot be combined.
Across the nation, America is moving forward, finding our footing, getting back.
I got to admit, guys, I'm a little more excited about this FCS game tomorrow night than I thought I was going to be.
We know you rely on the good people.
It will just seem as if
Open,
things are normal.
fully fit arch supports are designed
Football on a Saturday.
to even eliminate foot, knee, hip, and back.
Ooh-wee.
And provide comfort, balance, and support. The well-being of our
I sure hope so.
associates and community is our highest
I
priority.
think we could use it as a country.
With new measures, procedures, and
We could use some football.
health and safety in the forefront. The Good Feet store is lending a hand
Might calm everybody down a notch
and
on all sides.
for a quarter century. We're helping to improve the quality
Bring some fun to our lives.
at a time.
Is foot pain making your
Something to
life?
gamble on.
Call 552-FEET or visit us in Naples or our newest store in Fort Myers.
Hardee's presents the new spicy Western Bacon Cheeseburger. It's just like the Western Bacon Cheeseburger with charbroiled beef, crispy bacon and onion rings, and topped with spicy barbecue sauce.
We're giving the dog a bath right now.
Pepper jack cheese.
So you may hear a bulldog kind of snorting his way through the room here in a couple minutes.
We're using this whip crack to explain it because jalapenos sound like this.
Dog's having a surgery Monday. It's kind of a big deal. Could go either way.
Limited time.
Ooh.
Participating
Well, for what? Dog's got a really bad thing inside her mouth, causing her a lot of problems. She's having trouble eating. So, and she's almost 9. She's got one lung that's not that good.
Anytime you put a bulldog, not a good
Yep, exactly. So,
Bacon and spicy jalapenos. And if you're feeling extra wild,
let me tell you, Trenton, this dog, it gets so wet, and you're right. They start slapping their heads around. There'll just be a streak coming through this room.
participating Hardee's restaurants.
Trenton, I agree with you, though. I think this is a chance for FCS football to market themselves a little bit.
Dan Martineau here.
So my daughter this morning, I'm making coffee and I hear, like, you know, the thing that keeps the door from slamming that you can go. I hear the thing behind the powder room go. I'm like, what the hell? Well, Maddie was hiding there. This is 5:15 in the morning, mind you. Like, what are you doing? And she's wide awake. So she goes in our bed, falls asleep. Eve takes a video of her kissing her goodbye, so I have proof. I just go in there. She was still out. She's, where's mommy? It's been at work for an hour and a half. So I may have, there could be an outburst.
You're live.
26 minutes past the hour on this Football Friday, and we just proved it by talking to a college football coach who's playing a game tomorrow. That's right. Marcus Lovings, the interim head coach of the Governors of Austin Peay. They're facing Central Arkansas tomorrow. They're doing so on a neutral field in Montgomery, Alabama. It's the Kickoff Classic, ladies and gentlemen. In years past, it's been, you know, Alabama, Virginia Tech, Alabama, Florida State. This year, we're going a little different. It's very 2020. It's Austin Peay in Central Arkansas. But I'm wondering how many of our listeners the last 2 days have just loved the fact we've had college football coaches on who are playing a game on Saturday. I mean, come on. Are those not the two best coaches interviews you've heard in years? I mean, they were pretty good interviews, but you know what I mean. I mean, it's just football coaches talking football. They're playing a game within 48 hours.
David, we have had more positive texts on the 2 interviews with the coaches than for any 2 interviews we've ever done in the history of this show or the first act. And I'm not joking. Like, it ain't close. People are geeked. And both coaches, you know, the one thing about the FCS coach, they don't do a lot of interviews. They haven't become numb to the media, meaning they listen to 6 words of the question. They already figure out what the answer is, and it doesn't really matter what the question is. They know what they're going to say. You know, 9 times out of 10, Nick knows what he's going to say before the guy ever asks the question, unless it's the one guy who says something to honk Nick off.
The only time Marcus Lovings, the interim head coach at Austin Peay, really went all coach on us during that interview was when I asked him about the transfer running back from Ohio State, and he didn't want to give him, you know, he just said, "Yep, he's on the team and he'll play tomorrow." I mean, you know, he was.
Yeah, I was not ready for my next question at that time because I had to look up to make sure I had his name right. I was going to the same direction you were, and I'm like, "Damn it, Moulton stole my question. Damn it, he gave a 6-second answer. Now what?"
And so, that's when he's like, yeah, the guy hasn't done anything for us yet. Don't want to boast about him too much. But yeah, an Ohio State running back for Austin P. So we'll see how he does tomorrow night.
You are right. That was the only time he went all coach. But
right,
literally back to back of 2 days of people just Nathan Brown, was that yesterday from Central Arkansas? His name escapes me. But the people have really enjoyed getting a few football coaches on, hearing them talk about, football for a change.
And yes, it was Nathan Brown.
Yep. I thought I had that right. I had to go back and look it up. But Nathan's got a day 2 corner. You got an Ohio State running back here. Both of these teams are thought of as good FCS teams.
It's the Bears against the Governors, by the way. Central Arkansas Bears, Austin P. Governors. For those that are into your nicknames, I mean, sometimes you bet horses and what have you based on names or colors and what have you. So here you go. You could decide if you don't know anything. It's the Bears against the Governors. The Bears are favored by 3.5 to 4. It's on a neutral field. They played last year. The Bears won, I think, by 10. So there you have it.
479-5551, 479-5551. Interesting text this morning.
Well, the last 2 days, because, we got some texts late in yesterday's show talking about, what had happened in the NBA on Wednesday. And so, yeah, we've gotten a few texts and comments in the last 24 plus hours that interesting is a way to put it. But people fired up about it. Our poll question yesterday, 51% of you said you do not support these protests. You do not.
And it really hasn't. I mean, someone actually texted us today, and I kind of laughed that they basically said, they felt sorry for us because of what we have to talk about. And I'm like, I'm sorry about what sports is becoming. David and I are like, are you kidding me? It's August 28th.
Right.
There's no games. I mean, even if there were NBA and NHL games in May, you've listened to this show. We don't conduct this show breaking down anything from those 3 sports ever.
No.
We talk big picture with some of those sports, particularly with basketball. We may get maybe a touch more nitty gritty with the NHL because we're a pretty good little NHL market, but we're not breaking down games of those 3 sports. We never have. You're not interested. You're interested in breaking down football games. But any other game being broke down, you're interested if we break down, if a golf tournament happens, particularly a major, but the majority you don't give a damn about an average baseball game, an average NBA game, or an average NHL game.
But the NBA has not played for the last 2 days / nights, and we believe they're not going to play today. I don't know that for sure, though. I've spent a lot of time looking. The games are still scheduled, yet most people associated with the league believe that the games will not take place till tomorrow. NHL didn't play yesterday, will not play tonight. I think they'll start up at noon on Saturday, playing a bunch of games. Going to try to make up these games on Saturday and Sunday, if they can. Baseball left it up to the individual teams. Right now, everybody is scheduled to play today. There were, 7 games that did not take place yesterday. 7 games in which one or both teams said, yeah, we're not playing. 6 beforehand, so nobody showed up at the ballpark. The Mets and Marlins staged a bit of a dramatic boycott, strike, whatever you want to call it, protest, in which they went out for the field. The anthem was played. Then there was a 42-second moment of silence in honor of Jackie Robinson and number 42. And then a Black Lives Matter shirt was placed over home plate, and both teams tipped their caps at one another. And the Marlins, who were lined up in front of their dugout, went back in the dugout into the locker room, and the Mets walked off the field. And they didn't play. That was some pretty dramatic television, I will say that. If you can see the clip on YouTube or find it somewhere on Twitter, I mean, you go, oh, wow, snap. Because you figure once they show up, once they're on the field, they're going to play. and the anthem, and then the moment of silence, and you're going, oh, okay, we get it. But then when they walk off, you go, oh, well, this is a little different. This is, it was closer to what the WNBA did when all the teams appeared on court and then all walked off together. But the expectation is right now, no NBA, no NHL today. There will be Major League Baseball on a full slate today and tonight. We'll see if it happens.
One little thing has stoked our audience today. They're not outraged by the protests. They may be outraged because there's protests, but I don't know if it's really outrage. They're more upset. But David, you may have sparked a fire that is causing outrage, because I've had it come on both sides since you uttered just a simple, little, innocent statement.
What'd I say?
We were talking about the Buckeyes and you programming Buckeyes games over Knowles games.
Right.
And I just said, I think we are Florida State, Ohio State. And you said, I don't know, might be the Buckeyes.
Right.
And that was it. Ohio State fan. It's Ohio State all day. And I said, I don't know. He goes, depends on time of the year.
Well, it's
followed by another text. Very disrespectful. It's Knowles all day, fellas. Knowles all day. So very quickly, you didn't mean to.
No,
just having a little show, having a little conversation. And look what you did.
It is part of the charm of the 239. I mean, we've said it many times. Believe me, it's a lot harder to do a show in this market than it is in a major market. I mean, that's never the perception. The perception is people in a smaller market are not as good, and that it's easier to do it in a smaller market. You know, what are you doing, Mark? You're moving up to the big leagues. No, do a show in this market where there's no 50% fandom even of any team, never mind 90% fandom. I mean, to do a show in Philadelphia, I love Philadelphia. I do, even though I grew up a New York sports fan. I love the city of Philadelphia. I love the passion of the Philadelphia sports fan. But I don't think it's that hard to do sports radio in Philadelphia. I might be missing something. I mean, you got 4 pro teams. You know, if somebody in college basketball or football does something dramatic, you talk about them. You know, you might mention the Big 5 game that's being played tonight in hoops. I mean, seriously. But I mean, I don't think it's that hard. You got 9 pro teams in New York. I don't think it's hard to do radio. Do radio in Southwest Florida, where literally it's a legitimate discussion. Are there more Ohio State fans or Florida State fans that live here? One school's 1,500 miles away. The other school's 400. So,
David, that's why you and I love doing this show every day.
Right. Because we can talk about anything.
We think, David and I have joked, if we always have thought we'd be good if we were in a big market. Now, we're bigger than Buffalo. We know that.
Right.
But if we were in a big market, David and I have always thought we'd do well in Tampa, because Tampa is football and they love their Lightning. We think that's a good mix for what David and I bring to the table.
And golf.
We've joked around if we were in, Pittsburgh. I've joked the two cities, being from Michigan. If we were in Detroit or Pittsburgh, David and I would end up, maybe. I think I'd like Detroit more than Pittsburgh just because you got a few more college teams to talk about. That's really the only and a basketball team. But some of these cities, you're stuck. I mean, think about having to do Miami sports the last 5 years.
Boy.
I mean, think about Orlando Elzingari, who comes on our show all the time. And I like Orlando. And he is passionate about his Miami teams.
Yes, he is.
But there's been nothing to talk about other than getting ready for the draft in which Hurricanes coach is going to fix the Hurricanes. Because they've been bad across the board. The Heat just kind of play the mediocrity game, and it was a nice little win against the Pacers, but nobody thinks they're going any further than that. Even though they present the Bucks with some problems matchup-wise.
What's funny, though, is how quickly time can go by in which you think it has been an eternity since a team has done something. Like, we just got a text here from Memphis Tom in our Twitch chat room, in which the difference between Ohio State and Florida State, he says, is one school plays football and one now doesn't.
It's
and
fantastic.
because for the Noles, they've had a handful of years here that have not been good. There's no doubt. But it seems longer than that. They won the 2013 national championship and they made the 2014 playoff. I mean, the same year that Ohio State won the national title, Florida State lost in the semis to the team that Ohio State beat for the national title. Ohio State hasn't won a game in the playoffs since, by the way. Now, they've made it a couple times, but they haven't won a game in it. Now, Florida State obviously went into a big slide here. But it seems a lot longer than that.
I can guarantee you this, as he pointed out, Florida State will win more football games this fall than the Buckeyes. That I know.
They will.
Boy,
They will.
We're not even trying to, and we're hunking up. Actually, I was right there. Buckeye fans getting angry.
You were.
I was. That was, I don't want to say it was unfair because it's very fair. All is fair in COVID and football.
Miller and Moulton. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Big Ten.
Just wow. You sound like those Nebraska parents who are suing the Big Ten.
Suing the Big Ten.
Did you see that?
I think it's 8 players are suing the Big Ten.
Right.
Give me a break. How many media covered that, by the way? 612.
My question is, so what's the case for damages here?
It's a great point. You're still getting your scholarship. I mean, you really have nothing. This should get thrown out of court in 4 seconds.
You're not losing a year of eligibility.
You're not losing any money because you can't get paid.
What are you suing for?
Thank you.
I mean, if you win, what is it you win? I'd like to know.
We have
curious.
You know what? They have to invent a time machine, go back in time, and play the 2020 season.
I mean, are you looking for financial damages? Okay, the good news is they've ruled in your favor. You're going to get financial compensation. Here's the bad news. That immediately makes you ineligible for the rest of your college career. What is it you want? Miller and Moulton. Go to millerandmoulton.com, vote in our poll question. Austin P, Central Arkansas, tomorrow night, 9 Eastern, 8 Central. We've got it for you here on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. The 4-letter network's going to televise it. Are you watching or listening? Yes. Yes, and I'm betting on it. No. And right now, a majority of you are watching or listening. That's what we like to hear. You're our peeps. That's why this is always a Football Friday. Miller and Moulton. The good, the bad, and the ugly is next. Thanks so much for watching and or listening, whether it's on millerandmoulton.com, the Miller and Moulton Twitch and YouTube channels, or simulcasting on the Landry Football Network.
Is the Dan Patrick Show.
Chuck, at halftime of the Rockets and the Thunder, said James Harden one-on-one is the best offensive player he's ever seen. Would I say he's the greatest offensive one-on-one player? No, because Kareem is the greatest offensive weapon the game has ever seen. Nobody can stop this guy.
Dan Patrick. The Dan Patrick Show. Weekdays at 9 a.m. on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
It's Freddie Kobe with your Kobe Cooling Tip of the Day. There's lots of new air conditioning commercials about ductwork and attics that are all about hot air. These commercials are sales scams, and they're designed to scare people about mold and sell you new ductwork. These people aren't experts in air conditioning. They're only experts in sales. Real experts are NATE certified mechanics, and they're experts in the entire air conditioning system. Don't fall for the sales scams and keep these scammers out of your attics. NATE stands for North American Technician Excellence, and unless your air conditioning guy is a NATE certified mechanic, he's second best to us. The duct cleaning and duct sealing scams now include duct replacement scams, and they're just sales scams to separate you from your money. Steer clear of the hot air by calling Kobe Cooling at 482-1542. License CACO 57313. Kobe, the most trusted name in the business since 1949.
You should be driving a Kia from Galliana Kia. Why? Why pay more for a used car or truck when Galliana Kia in Fort Myers can sell you a new car for less? 2020 Kia Forte LXS lease, just $49 per month. That's right. A new car for just $49 per month. 2020 Kia Rio, just $13,990. Yes, $13,990. Worried about your credit? Don't sweat it. Galliana Kia has lenders to get almost anyone approved. Plus, we'll take any trade, in any condition, even if you're upside down. Why? Why buy an overpriced used car when you can buy a new car for less? Brand new Kias, just $49 per month.
You should be driving a Kia from Galliana. Galliana Kia.
At Galliana Kia, 1.5 miles south of Daniels Parkway on US 41 in Fort Myers. Open every day, including Sunday. Call 239-481-2600. GallianaCars.com. 24 months, 12,000 miles, 39
Listen to Miller and Moulton at home on your Amazon Alexa. Just say, Alexa.
Receiving. Over.
Play Fox Sports FM on TuneIn.
We are Fox Sports.
No matter where you're boating, with Towboat US, you're covered by the world's largest towing fleet with over 300 ports nationwide. Your local Towboat US companies in Charlotte, Lee, and Collier counties are here to help 24/7, 365 days a year. Inland, the river to Lake O, and out 75 nautical miles. And new membership pricing starts as low as $99. Call 239-945-1664 for more information. Or visit towboatuscapecoral.com. With Towboat US, you're never stuck on the water.
Let's face it, these are stressful times. New routines, constant bombardment of bad news, and trying to keep you and your family safe all the time. It's Frank for Center for Men's Health. During these stressful times, your mood is so critical, and nothing's more important to a guy's mood than testosterone. The single greatest issue for guys with low T is mood, and the single greatest change for men that get low T care is a greatly improved mood. Many are grumpy when they start, and most can't believe how much their mood improves once they get treated. And everything improves once your mood improves. Feel the difference C4MH.com can make in your life. I've been a patient of C4MH.com for a couple of years, and recently I've lost 20 pounds because now I have the energy to work out from home. And that'll put you in a good mood too. C4MH.com's express treatment plan is convenient, affordable, and above all, safe. And with locations all up and down West Florida, there's one near you right now. Find out more. Go to C4MH.com.
30 seconds.
Hi, everyone. It's me, Drew Barrymore. A lot has changed this year, and that's why I want to do more when our new daytime show premieres. More meaningful stories, more laughs, more inspiration, more. Like Drew Barrymore. Get it? Drew Barrymore. It's got my
Drew Barrymore.
Somebody has to replace Ellen, Mark.
From the best headlines,
The best.
to the worst.
It's the worst thing that ever happened to anybody ever.
Prepare yourself and hide the women and children. This is Mark Miller's Good, Bad, and Ugly on Fox Sports Radio.
You're live.
Of course I am. For the good today, we go to the lakes, where a Labrador, they like water and like chasing ducks, and this Labrador did just that. But after high pursuit of the birds for more than a half a mile, the dog was out of gas, and the Victorian Fire and Rescue in Australia were called into action. The dog was chasing ducks. The black lamb named Indy had swum out of sight, leaving her owner panicked. The crew set out along the river in search of Indy, finally finding the dog more than a half a mile away from where it started. It was a daring dog rescue, and fortunately, all is well with Indy the black lab. Oh, I don't want to. For the bad, we go to Liberty, Mississippi, where there's some fixing to be done at some government buildings because apparently a dog got a hold of the fiber optics cable that ran between county buildings, chewing it to pieces and costing the county more than $7,000 to get it fixed.
See, and the dog just wanted a bone or two, and you wouldn't go out and get him or her one.
Finally, the ugly, we go to Berlin, where police were called, alerted to shots fired. That's when they surrounded an apartment in Berlin, hearing shots from an apartment. 7:30 in the morning. They came in quickly. Had to have the locksmith open the door to find a man slumbering on his couch in front of a television with an action movie on.
Loudly.
Very loudly. And David, that is the good, the bad, and the ugly. Today, August the 28th, this is 2020.
Boy, is it ever. You know, we only brought this up once, and it was during the starting five a couple hours ago. But, you know, we had some fun here. The casual comment I made are there more Florida State or Ohio State fans in the 239? But if we could get UCF fan to be brutally honest with themselves, take their South Florida bias, if they could just put that on the side, all right? South Florida has now scheduled 2-for-1s in football with Alabama, Texas, the Gators, the Canes, and Notre Dame. Hey, they're on the schedule. You're going to play 15 games, 5 of them at home. I mean, these are true home and homes, or 2-for-1s is what they are. But still, you know what we're getting at. And South Florida has a home and home with Boise State. Man, those are 6 good home games over the next decade. I mean, Notre Dame, Alabama, Texas, the Gators, the Canes, and Boise State. And UCF's policy is, hey, we don't have to do 2-for-1s. We're good enough. We can do a straight home for home and home. Okay, but then you get none of these games? Now, you still have your ACC schools that will play you, and you can get them to do home and homes. Although I don't know if you'll get North Carolina to do it anymore now that Mac's there. But, I mean, Mark, the UCF fan, and you have such a fond and close relationship with them. But if we could get and inject them with some truth serum, I mean, I know that they want to stick their chest out and they want to, they don't want to have to go the 2-for-1 route because that's admitting that you're not equal to a Power 5 conference. But there's false bravado and there's reality. And this new athletic director at South Florida has come in the last 2 years and has just said, hey, we are what we are, okay? And until that changes. And the other factor is that what to me is the best way to get in the Big 12? I mean, let's be honest here. You know, it's kind of like we joked a moment ago, Mark, about the 8 parents and students that are suing the Big 10. What's the end game? I mean, if you're UCF, what's the end game? It's to get in a Power 5 conference. What's the best way to do it? I think it's to play and beat these teams.
And this is where Danny White's got to get off his high horse and think that he deserves home and homes. You don't. Danny, you don't.
Even if you do, it's just not the reality of the sport.
But home and home with Georgia Tech is not 2-for-1 with Alabama.
No.
Now, home and home with North Carolina has turned out to be a pretty good coup if they could have actually played the games. When they scheduled it, North Carolina was not worth it. Mac now has done a hell of a job in bringing North Carolina back. He has done a great job. David and I both lost. Where Mark and David were wrong, Mac Brown, North Carolina, along with damn near every person we brought on the show about Mac Brown. I don't know anybody that thought that was a good move.
And Herm,
yeah,
and I lost with Herm Edwards at Arizona State. Absolutely, because I didn't think that would work at all. But, you know, when the Gators publicly are like, hey, we'll do a 2-for-1, you got to say yes to that. Because you only have to beat them once. And you only have to beat them once. And see, because what are you really, you're auditioning for the Big 12. I mean, let's be honest. That's what you're auditioning for. The ACC, the SEC are never going to let you in. Okay, if we're going to, in 5 or 6 years, or if it's 10 to 12 years, or whenever the next round is that it's going to happen, if you, one of two things, if you're UCF, you either A, want to get to a point where when the playoff expands to 8, which is likely in 2026, that if you put up some of the seasons you've been putting up, you will get one of the 8 spots. Now, maybe then you're right. Maybe then you don't have to schedule the way we're saying you need to schedule. Although I'll tell you what, a win against one of these teams, I think, gets you the 8 seed. I really do. But The other thing is, or get in the Big 12. Get them to go from 10 to 12. And I know you don't like to hear this, but you're bringing the school 70 miles to your west with you.
Because what is your best chance of getting in? Trying to go alone and get a Boise, a Cincinnati, a whomever, or to package yourself with what, the number 10 or 12 market and the number 15, 18 market?
Right.
And that's what you're trying to bring to the Big 12. You actually offer more to the Big 12 than everybody in the conference not named Texas or Oklahoma. I could truly argue that.
Yes.
Now, that would piss off Kansas, Kansas State, Iowa State, Baylor, Texas Tech. The only one that would be close, and they're really not, is Oklahoma State. Because the Pokes got a little bit of name recognition now, but they don't have the population base, not even close. And I'm sure when you look at some of the Texas school, yes, they have the population base based on where they are, but not really. Texas Tech is in Lubbock in nowhere land. Baylor's in Waco. I mean, there's not, TCU's the best thing that they've got to offer other than Texas.
And so I would love to be able to inject the UCF fan with some truth serum right now, or really get them liquored up and say, come on, if it wasn't South Florida, if it was another team in the AAC, if Memphis was scheduling this way, if Cincinnati was scheduling this way, would you be saying, you know what, we should be scheduling this way? I think we're making a mistake. But since it's South Florida and you hate them, you're not willing to admit that. That's why I would love for you to be able to separate that bias. Because if we frame the question this way, if Cincinnati and Memphis were scheduling this way, how would you feel? Would you think you're going about it the right way or the wrong way? All right. We think you're making a mistake. The more good games you schedule, the more national television games you're going to get, the more the chance there is you're going to produce those wins that stand out. I mean, that's how Boise State, that's a Utah. I mean, I just think you got to do it. I do. Danny White hasn't made many mistakes. I think this is a miscalculation. I really do.
And the one thing that you're basing this on, I think, David, and I don't know about you, but you're basing it on Danny White, at least to me, thinks UCF is going to be this way every year, that there's never going to be a lull. And there's a braggadocious attitude about what they're doing. And I see it almost as impossible that they can continue at this level, because we've watched them dip up and down over the past few years. So when they have a dip in their schedule in Georgia Tech and North Carolina, where are they? That's when USF could catch them, if they can catch them. They're leap years behind right now.
Miller and Moulton. Tonight, we've got Xfinity Racing. Ross Chastain.
He'll finish in the top 10. Probably the top 5.
From Daytona, our coverage begins at 7 o'clock. Tomorrow night, we have the first college football game of the year. The Governors of Austin Peay against the Bears of Central Arkansas. Kickoff at 9 o'clock. It sounds tremendous.
The Governors and the Bears tomorrow night. Dan Patrick's next. Have a great weekend.
You're clear, guys.
Ian, thanks. Sorry you had to get up so early.
No problem, guys. It's been a pleasure. Anytime.
Dan Martineau here, owner of DR
Guys,
Martineau
have a
Roofing
great
of
time.
Southwest
Great day.
Florida.
You too. Have a good weekend.
Juancho, thanks.
Operate with integrity.
Yes, Memphis Tom, we are the flagship of FCS.
Call 239-332-1441.
License number CCC 1326954.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is DR Martineau.
You can't watch
If you're FCS football, do you move to the spring?
fishing, golfing.
I think you do.
Doing anything else.
I think you move to the spring. You put forth an FCS game of the week. You put a package together. I really think you do.
All right. Since you won't watch it on your own, David.
We're still live.
I know. I've never cared too much about that. You worry about that stuff far more than I do. I don't give two blanks. I really don't anymore. Share screen. Chrome tab. Club Pro guy. All right. This right here is what I refer to as gold.
Oh, hello. A couple days ago, I came
need you
across
listening,
a tweet
David.
that asked a fun and interesting question. What's the best phrase in golf?
Focus.
In 5 words or less. In other words, what's an often used phrase that golfers universally love to hear on the golf course? There were many great replies, such as, "It opens up over there," or "It's good, pick it up," or my favorite, "Course is wide open, enjoy." But the reply that resonated the most with those of us who truly know the game was submitted by none other than Darren Ravel, the blue checkmark sports business reporter with 2 million followers, who might have been a professional athlete himself, if not for the fact that he runs like he has special needs.
Whoa.
As only someone with true golf
You got to be, well,
chops
they
can,
show a video of it. If you're
Ravel
really, it's
swooped
kinda,
in and dropped the phrase that we all
Watch.
hear on a daily basis. "You demand into hole." If I had a nickel for every time I heard this phrase on the course, I wouldn't be working at a semi-private club. I'd be a member at one. Everyone remembers the Vern Lundquist
David.
call of this
Gotta
putt
watch.
Jack Nicklaus made at the '86 Masters. But what you don't hear is Jack's playing partner, Sandy Lyle, just off camera screaming, "You demand into hole." Hold the chip in 05. If you listen closely, you can faintly hear Stevie Williams yelling, "You demand into hole." It's a phrase as old as golf itself. Surprisingly, some people who replied to Ravel were less than familiar with the phrase. B. Tweet replied, "Absolutely no golfer ever in the history of the world has said this." Ford Earhart chimed in with, "This has literally never been said on a golf course in the history of time." B. Tate said, "This is by far your worst tweet ever, and that is truly saying something." Tom Downey got into the action by replying, "This is why no one likes you." And finally, Don Mikowski let his feelings known by replying, "I would love nothing more than to punch you square in the face." Sport expert Darren Ravel reminding us all the next time our playing partner has a big shot, be sure to say what Darren and other true golfers say. "You demand into hole."
Sorry, that's an all-timer, especially because Ravel's such a putz. All right.
It's funny though. I
know, Mark, no eye contact. Once that came, it's a lot funnier if you actually watch it. He was busy doing a lot of different things there. Totally with you, Mark.
Well,
David,
first off, I didn't think it was hysterical. I didn't. He ragged on Darren Ravel.
But something takes a little bit more visual. Again, only a month later, it's probably been built up too much. But Mark, again, I'm not talking to David now, Mark. I'd rather talk to you because even though I can't tell whether or not you're looking at me, I'm looking at you. I've given you the total eye contact. I'm paying attention. Mark, Tom, Juan, all of you in here have a terrific weekend. Let's work hard and root hard for our UCA Bears -4. That's all. Have a good weekend, everyone. David, enjoy your texting.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.